the foe, protect this land. Odin, All-Father, seeker of wisdom, guide our souls to the sacred rhythm. Frigg, queen of the heart and home, with love and grace make us whole. Turn the trust with your iron might, guide us through the darker night. Hell, the mistress of life and death, show us the path with every breath. Freya, goddess of love and more, we honor you now and forevermore. Fehu, Urus, Turisas, we call the runes, we seek your cause. Ansus, the Rhino, Canas, we say, guide our path, light our way. Lagos, Hanalas, Northeast, we sing, our spirits rise on the winds of spring. Issa, Jera, for we trust, in the runes, in the laws we must.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Greyhorn Pagans podcast. At time of recording, I literally just got home, put myself a drink, a dubby. Yes, this is product placement. These people actually pay me if you buy shit from them using my code StyFox10. Get the shilling done right away.
Oh yeah.
I have my kitty co-host with me, of course, as does my guest, the Dream Wizard himself, who I've had on once before, and I've been on your channel once before. He's taking over the show.
That's when I'm live streaming video games too.
It's so funny to.
Here is it's got full of his claw marks too. Go. What are you doing? He's gonna be all in the face. He's so needy.
Oh dear.
He does this when I'm laying down to go to sleep too. He puts his face on mine. We rescued him when he was, well, my wife did, when he was a crying, starving, tiny little kitten in a bush. Been separated from his mother, and we nursed him and fed him, and he loves to cuddle. Never gets enough. Little separation anxiety, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I imagine so. It's common among rescues.
Mm-hmm.
Just need to turn down my mic a little because I'm getting some feedback. But yeah, welcome to the show once again, Ben.
Yeah,
good to
be back. Always fun to talk to you.
Yeah, good to have you. I mean, last time we did the whole dream thing on, like, not the dream analysis, but like, what is a dream? What does it mean?
Mm-hmm.
On my channel, we went for 2.5 hours or something. Like
like that. I talk a lot. You give me rolling, I can't stop myself. Well, speaking of which, I was telling you a story before we got started. If you want to,
please continue.
So I'm scatterbrained, which I think is part of my
it's part of your charm,
secret sauce. Part of what makes me able to do what I do. And so, for a while there, and I haven't given this up. I just haven't had a dream analysis in a while. So I'm like, what am I going to fill my time with? I need to work on another book, but that's like, kind of lost the passion for finishing these things. I'm like, what do I do? How do I force myself into that routine? Long story short, I started an AI music side venture. So it's primarily, you can go to my youtube.com/@Bejamin the Dream Wizard, and down at the very bottom is just a single playlist of all the AI radio music. But the actual channel is at Real AI Radio. And so I've decided, it used to be, I would just release a song whenever I was finished with it. Just put it up there, because you got to get a bunch of content on a channel or it's not a channel. Now I'm doing weekly releases. So I've got a bunch locked and loaded and ready to go. This is all the story the story you missed out there before we started recording. And I'm working on 3 or 4 more. And I just came across, it's weird how things happen. I'm on the internet and someone is talking about the Elon drama. And then someone else is like, God, why does anyone care about who Elon's having kids with? And I'm like, and then the line popped into my head, well, you're a better man than I am, Gunga Day. And I'm kind of fascinated by it, even though I know who cares? It's stupid, but it's like, ooh, who's he gonna have a baby with next? It's kind of a celebrity thing. And I'm like, whatever. Get this mouse out of the way. God. Anyway, so that line is from a Rudyard Kipling poem, and I've done several Kipling poems as my AI radio songs. So what happens with each poem is, in a way, it kind of speaks to me, and it says, this fits, the style of the poetry fits a specific genre. So I just did one for Valentine's Day that just came out. It's a poem by Anne Bradstreet from like the 1670s, 450 years ago. Is it now 350 years? Something like that. 350, I think. Anyway, so her poem was it's entitled "To My Dear and Loving Husband." So it's an ode. It's a love song. Oh, a love song. What are the different styles of love songs? And I could have said it in any genre, 1950s harmony, Mr. Sandman style love song. Could have done that. But what popped into my head really was kind of a almost like Adele or Lana Del Rey, these kind of husky voiced lounge singers. So that's what I ended up with. Lots of vocalizing harmonies and different stuff going on in that song. So if you listen to it, it's about a 2-minute song based on this poem, and I set it as a kind of a lounge singer style. And it's funny, it actually turned out to the image that was the best. I do like dozens and dozens of images because Grok still has trouble with fingers and faces look weird, and sometimes there's overlapping objects in the background. I'm like, I can't release that with that mess. So dozens and dozens of pictures, and the one that ended up being the best looks a lot like another gal I follow on Twitter, a comedian by the name of Leonardo Joni. It just looks like her. So I actually dedicated the song to her. I told her, and I don't know if she saw I posted it to her timeline. I'm nobody, so she probably has no idea.
Oh, you're not nobody.
I said, I dedicated this to her because what am I trying to say? It is the alternate reality where Leonardo Joni became a lounge singer at a jazz club rather than a comedian. And so I have no idea if she saw it or not, but that's my process though. Each song, okay, long story short, too late for that. Gunga Din, what popped into my head was a very up-tempo country riff, kind of Americana, Zydeco, accordion, banjo, doom, 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 one of those kind of things. And I'm like, okay, I'm going for that style of this because it's a very long poem too. And you gotta, right now, the software I'm using, it only allows 3,000 words, but it'll allow you to extend something to a little bit longer. So I've got to, what I had to do with another side tangent, what I had to do with the Edgar Allan Poe work, The Raven, that thing is like 17 verses long, and each verse is like 20 lines long. It's ridiculous. So I did the first 5 verses and the final verse. So the song I released is not the full The Raven, but with the song like Gunga Din, it tells a full story from beginning to end. It kind of introduces the character and how the singer is interacting with that character, and then events that transpire, and then it ends at a very specific point. So so all of this goes into making this song. It isn't just like I go, boop, I've got a song. It's like, I've done 9 or 20 different iterations trying to get the best version of something. And then I have to take audio software and try and clean it up a little bit because the program I'm using, it gets what's called a shimmer in the background. That's what people have taken to calling it. It's like when there's too much background noise and audio distortion going in. And unfortunately, this program I'm using, no program does this yet. It doesn't do individual tracks. Now it'll separate music from vocals, so you can tweak those a little bit, too soft, too loud. And I do a lot of audio engineering on the back end to get things to sound better. I didn't do that in the beginning. So some of the songs in the beginning are like, you can hear the shimmer, you can hear how awful it is. I just said, oh, that's amazing. And then I started picking up on how to do it better. But I was going somewhere with that. I think I ran out of words. I'll stop.
No, but that's really cool.
My story.
Like AI music,
it's amazing.
It is. I mean, the intro that I have been using for the last few shows, someone made a new intro for
nice.
me. Queen of Blades goes by Improper Ascension on Twitter.
Sweet.
He actually did a whole rune god themed song for me, and he created it using AI, Runes of the Ancients.
Nice.
And it's an amazing song. It is really cool. It's up tempo. It has that, that metal vibe that I love, but at the same time, it's really this, there's the pagan spirit kind of in it, even though it is AI. So yeah, I'm really happy with that, and it saves me a lot of time as well, because the intro that I was using, that I have used with our previous show, is actually copyrighted music. But I have permission from the band to use it. But every time I upload something on on YouTube, every time I schedule a new episode, I have to put that in there. It's like,
It
hey,
gets a
you're using
notification or
copyrighted
something, yeah.
shit, and it's like, yeah, but I have permission. Okay, well, claim it. It's like, oh, can I just every damn time, And
Yeah.
it's good music. It's a good song. It's fitting with the theme of the podcast, of course. But now I have one, like entirely like custom created for me. You can find the creator on BandLab, is where he posts most of his music, and I of course have the link in the description down below. The only thing that I'm kind of sad about is that I can't use the full song as my intro, because it's over 3.5, closing in on like 4 minutes, and
Yeah.
I mean, for an intro, it's an epic fucking song, but for an intro, it's still too damn long, and it's such a shame.
Yeah. I also do, this is just making me think of other stuff here too. So for my Dreamscape show, I do use a piece of custom music created by a digital artist, musician friend of mine, and he wrote it for me and gave it to me. So that's fantastic. And I've used some of his other work. He's like, use whatever you want. And luckily he didn't claim anything, and no one's claiming it on his behalf, so I get away with that. But I've also been making unique intro videos for each new game that I play. I used to get DRM-free music from the YouTube audio library, and I'm running out. I mean, I've gone through everything that I think sounds good. It's same problem. What made me think of this is some of those songs ended up being 2.5, 3 minutes long, and I'm like, nobody wants to sit through a 3-minute opening song before you just get to the games already. I'm here to watch the games. So I've been creating songs using the same program and making custom videos with that custom music, and I can actually tell it, and sometimes it listens, but I can actually tell it maximum length of 90 seconds. And sometimes it'll listen and it'll do the thing, and then it's no longer than an anime intro. But a lot of people can sit through. They can sit through 90 seconds, or at least when it's 90 seconds, they know how much to fast forward if they don't want to hear it. That's fine. But you get a custom song and a custom music video. So I've been playing, and I'm going to be playing it again today at 5 p.m. Life is Strange from 2015, and it's actually the 2018 remastered version. But whatever, I'm going back to the original.
I have to catch up on those streams. It's a
fascinating story.
Been working a lot.
It is. They did a really good job. Don't nod. I've played some of their other games, or the games that they've been involved with, and they're pretty good at storytelling. So it's nice that there's a. But anyway, I wrote a custom. This is what actually got me into doing the AI poetry. Is like, so for that one, I went to Grok and I said, write lyrics that would represent the themes and storyline and plot of Life is Strange without spoilers. Just talk about the concepts involved. And Grok gave me some lines that were a good start, and then I tweaked them to be what they are. Then I put them into Suno. I use Suno AI, SUNO.ai.
It's a popular program. Yeah.
And it really is. I haven't experimented with others. I probably should. This one works so well, and I'm very familiar with it. So I'm just like, I'll just go with its limitations and do my best. So, and then it turned that into the theme song that you see. It has a lot of shimmer in it. This is before I really understood what shimmer was and how to get rid of it. But I also did another one for the game I played before that, which was Sunset Overdrive. The conceit was an energy drink company made a formula that turns everybody into disgusting mutants, and they're all trying to kill everybody.
Yeah.
And you've got to rail slide on telephone wires and guardrails and all kinds of rooftops, and it's very, very, very kinetic, high, fast-paced game.
Yeah.
Lots of fun. So I had, again, Grok, the X AI, write lyrics. Give me lyrics that are about the game Sunset Overdrive, and just ran with it. And then I took that, and so AI hasn't gotten to the point where it just produces instantly exactly what you're looking for in the best possible format. So there's definitely a human component that needs to go into it, which is, well, this is a good start. You've given me some tasty meat and a lot of skeleton, and I'm going to fill in the rest and rearrange it and make it work. And then also it's getting into that style. So what you don't want to do with a song like that is it's all about, rebels and post-apocalypse, and it's tongue-in-cheek and a little silly. And so you don't want to say, make this classical music. Wrong vibe. So of course it had to be punk rock. So I'm like, okay, well, I had to look for keywords that would make Suno behave the way I wanted it to. And give me that punk rock song. And what were some of the lines? It's so grind the skyline, pop the sickest tricks, living like a rock star to get my kicks. No time for ordinary. We're rebels and we're free. In this neon lit nightmare, we refuse to face defeat. That was great lines. Great
It was
lines
a
that came
good
out of that thing.
song. I
Oh,
I definitely enjoyed that.
thank you very much. That's something I also added now to the AI channel is a playlist of all my music videos if people want to
Yeah,
see
why
those. You know,
not?
and they're just game. I just take game trailers on YouTube and again edit them for time and content and
Yeah,
pacing for
of
the
course, of course.
because you want scene changes that go with the music. You want if the music's slow before a build up, you want slow pans,
Yeah.
you want slow zooms, you want static shots, and then when it kicks in, then you want dynamic action to go. So composing, producing this things that make sense, that flow well and are entertaining is its own. So I've been learning how to do that. Just kind of teach myself things. I think that's all part of wizardry too. It's being the kind of person who, you have the creativity to think of something to do, and then the determination and ability to follow through and say, okay, well, I'm going to teach myself even if it's difficult. I know, it's a self-teaching type of
Yeah.
personality trait is not the right way to put it, but attitude
No, but
towards life.
I
Yeah.
get it.
You
I
get
get
it.
it.
Yeah.
Which is, all the AI stuff is actually a nice segue into,
Mhm.
what I asked you here, back on the show for is, well, let's call them made up gods. Because I had this discussion with a friend of mine the other day, the same guy who made my intro, actually. And like, I am a big fan of RuneScape, like the MMORPG RuneScape.
Mm.
I've been playing it on and off ever since I was 12. So like for the last 20...
That was ancient when you got into it. That's back from the mid '90s, I think, right?
The whole concept and everything, yeah, I believe it was like developed in the 90s and like really
But
got
the
popular
graphics
early
have improved
2000s.
have the graphics improved and kept up a little bit, or is it still kind of janky and old?
Depends if you play RuneScape 3 or old school RuneScape, because they rebooted designed the 2007 servers.
Okay, gotcha.
Because so many people, they didn't like the progression of RuneScape. When it was like actual RuneScape, what is now old school RuneScape, they started playing that, and then that started to develop and the graphics got better, of course. So they found an old copy or like an old backup on a hard disk, and they asked their community, they asked their players like, hey, like, would you want us to reboot this again? And yeah, they absolutely fucking would. But in RuneScape, it's also a story about several gods, the three main gods: Gothics, Zamorak, Saradomin. The evil one, the neutral one, the good one. And it got me wondering, since I am polytheist, you are somewhere in the middle. And there is so much time and energy has gone into creating those, made up gods. They have followers. They have a backstory. There are freaking different ages in the world of Gielinor and like battles between the gods, etc. So with so much time and energy and like even money, which is just another form of energy really, put into it, does that still make them fake gods because it's a video game? Or could you say that, they have kind of come to life in like in that way?
Yeah.
Of course, also like think of the the Lovecraftian gods and like all the gods from the different games, for example. So much time and energy has gone into crafting those gods. So just because they're computer generated or like just written on paper, does that make them any less real? So what is your opinion on it? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've kind of contemplated some things like this before. So two things immediately came to mind, and there's a concept that gods are real or empowered to the extent of the number of followers that they have. And that's both, what am I trying to say, figurative, but also very real. I mean, like in terms of real life behavior, and the more people believe a particular thing, the more people behave a particular way. So you could say, a specific type of God is responsible for or governs a given society. And in some cases, it's like, well, it doesn't matter if they're real or not. If the people behave as if they're real, then what's the functional difference? That's one way of looking at it. The believers equal, the strength of a particular God, which is not a concept I invented. I heard about that a long time ago, of course. And then the idea that God would weaken and his influence in the world would wane the fewer and fewer followers he have, both philosophically and practically true. Then, like, as to the reality of the God itself, it kind of fits with that as well. Like, the God is as real as his believers enact in some ways. But it also made me think that there was a time in human history before certain gods existed. And that's a controversial statement to say, because you go from the Christian perspective and you'll say, no, God was always there. God made everything, But then you've got, in terms of human storytelling, in terms of people communicating these ideas and living by these ideas, there was a time before the solidified, what do you call it when, before the lore had all come together for Thor, for Odin.
Yeah, before they had a particular image and a particular name, they were just this grand force.
Yeah, there was, and then so the other side of it is that a lot of these things are real to the degree that they represent something real. So, I love the Greek gods for that reason, because they had some and I love to go to the idea of Mars and Aphrodite. I mean, Aphrodite is as real as the human experience of love. And that's a complicated thing to tease out, because now, does that mean there is a person, a physical being standing literally on Mount Olympus in a temple on the clouds, and that person is that entity, that being is the literal embodiment of love itself and causes love to exist, et cetera, et cetera? I don't know. I've never met Aphrodite, but I've experienced love, and I've seen love be involuntary, and I've seen it drive men to great works and to self-destruction. So whatever's going on there, it's a real thing. And the Greeks pulled it together in that way of saying, well, we're going to give these apparent forces of nature personas. And their persona also kind of describes how the thing functions. So the idea that Aphrodite sends Cupid to shoot you with an arrow so you involuntarily experience, then they get the idea that we are the playthings of the gods. And that way and really the way we experience emotions, it feels like we are being affected by an external force. Love has come into me. I have no choice to reject it. This feeling is present. Now what do I do with it? So, that's what I mean when I say things like, a God is as real as the effect it's describing in the world. And in that sense, we then, somewhat contradictory to what I was saying before, that, existed as long as humans were capable of feeling that emotion, even if they couldn't put it into words, even if they couldn't create a symbol or a description or describe a practice of worship for that thing. So kind of bring it full circle and wrap it up with your, the idea of video game gods being real or fake. It's almost like, how real is the thing they represent, and how many followers do they have in the world enacting that through ritual, in a sense. So real and fake almost comes down to, is it describing something true and people believe it and act upon it? Or is it more pure fantasy, like a unicorn, where we can imagine a horse with a horn doesn't actually exist, but also people don't worship it. It doesn't represent something that inspires a religious practice. Those are all my thoughts. Yeah.
There's
a lot of thoughts, I know.
It's very, very elaborate, but no, I get it. And I took RuneScape as an example because it's the best one that I know.
Were you playing RuneScape when you had that thought? You're like, oh, I wonder look at, there's gods in this game. Did it kind of, was that the inspiration?
I watch a lot of RuneScape content creators, and it's very popular. I think the one with the most subscribers, that might be SparkMac, I believe. He is well on his way to 500,000 subscribers.
Mm.
99% of his content is old school RuneScape content. Like, he'll do some other things every now and then, but old school RuneScape is his, well, literally his bread and butter.
Mm-hmm.
And that also made me think, even the people who don't play RuneScape, they come into contact with these creators. Like, I see that in comments often, like, oh, I don't even play RuneScape, but I just, I love watching this. They also come in contact with these ideas of, like the first age or second age of Gielinor, and, the literal god wars. There's, in the game, there's a god wars dungeon where all the gods and their minions, literally their minions, reside. So they're even alive in, the world of RuneScape still. So it just came to mind like that, and also because it's so popular on like on social media, on the video platforms. Like I said, close to 500,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
They may not all be followers of, those gods in particular, but they at the very least come in contact through the creator of, of those videos with the idea of those gods. And my mind has a tendency to go dark. That happens when you're gray. You can switch.
It's true.
I didn't even do this on purpose.
That's why Gandalf the Grey had to become Gandalf the White before he could back off Wormtongue and save the King of Rohan.
Yeah.
That's why the Wormtongue thought he was being clever. Gandalf Stormcrow, the Grey, you have no power here. Oh, the Grey has no power here. I ain't gray no more, motherfucker.
Throws off the robe. It's
Throws
like,
off the
oh,
cloak.
shit.
Yeah. Oh, shit. He came back with a new power, a new focus. That's a power. See, now we're talking fantasy too, but like that inspires people. That idea of, and what it took for him to get there was to sacrifice himself, him, an immortal being fighting another immortal being.
Which is very platonic.
One of them was going to die. One of them, possibly neither one of them was making it out of here. But his mission was so important. He sacrificed himself to a worthy goal and came back with new power. That is a true phenomenon that happens in real life. Whether Gandalf ever existed or not, doesn't matter. Whether he's completely fake, it's a true story in that sense.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. I love that. I love it.
Yeah,
but I interrupted you.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
But like even in stories like the Lord of the Rings, like just their world building alone that Tolkien has put into it. The Silmarillion, the Hobbit, the Lord of the Rings. It has become a world in a way, and also because he pulls so much from Catholicism, from Norse paganism, Celtic paganism. It is all real, in a way. But like also what I was thinking, there are horrible things done in the name of, made up beings. Like take Slenderman, for example. A very popular creepypasta. Started as like some kind of a challenge. Like, hey, just come up with something creepy. Well, that turned into Slenderman, which is now a whole like pop culture phenomenon. But there have been two girls, I believe, like 12 and 13 or 12 and 14 years old, who did despicable things in the name of Slenderman.
Took another young child out to the forest and like attempted to kill them or sacrifice them to
like
something
that.
Yeah.
Like the Slenderman does in, the lore that is created around him.
Oh yeah.
They made it very, very real, but Slenderman and, his stories are absolutely made up. But still, it was real enough for them that they thought it worthy enough to, to do those despicable things or try those despicable things.
Yeah.
I don't know if they actually succeeded or not.
As much as as much as emotions have the ability to grip us and move us, ideas do as well. I was just thinking as you were talking, the idea of, or the concept of ideas being viral, and it's what we refer to as, memetics, that these, almost like genetics, these ideas, good ideas, successful ideas, powerful ideas, very bad ideas, they can all transmit from one person to the next. And it's a very strange, like unique phenomenon to humans, I think. I don't think any primates or dolphins or whatever have any concept of memetics like we do, or ideas like we do. They can't really communicate an idea that then inhabits the brain of another person. That's that. It's all. It's like one of the what's the good and the bad and the ugly of the capacity for communication. Is I can take an idea from my head and make vibrations with my throat that hit your ear, and now the idea is in your head. That's Joe Rogan, I think, said we're like psychic monkeys. So they can put our ideas into other monkeys' heads, using using the magic of communication, which it is really. I was going somewhere with that, but yeah. So for good or ill, ideas that really seize someone's imagination, and they just invest a lot of time and energy in thinking about it. That's what have I said in the past? I've said, what you do is what you worship, is one way I put it. And some people think, no, what you worship is what you do. I'm like, yes, it is both. What you do demonstrates what you worship, and what you worship influences what you do. It's one of my cats is waking up and scratching in a cardboard box. I'm like, that's loud.
Wow, that was a cardboard box. Okay.
You heard like clack, clack, clack in the background over there?
Well, I heard something. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's some sturdy freaking cardboard.
Yeah, it is. It's thick, like one of the Amazon delivery boxes or something, and I just put a blanket in it. I've little spots for the cats to rest all over the place. Like you can see, right above my head, here's a little cat tree. They use that sometimes. And actually, there's where is it? Right here in the background is a kind of a little, plastic basket where I've got folded up swim trunks that I wear during the summertime. It's hot, and so 90% of the time I'm just wearing swim trunks and trying not to sweat my ass off. Well, that's another place the cats love to rest. And then this one's a tall cabinet back here, and up on top is where probably one of the highest points in here that they could get up high and look down. And part of me wants to put a kind of like a running board all the way around the whole top, about a foot down from the ceiling, so the cats can run around the entire room if they want to. But that's a whole lot of work, and I just haven't gotten around to it.
Distracting at all.
Got nothing to do with what we were talking about. Cats,
No, well,
they interrupt everything. And then this guy sleeping. Look at him.
Yeah. Oh, so she darling. But
he's passed out.
Like, speaking of cats, speaking of pets, like I can turn this into a segue.
Right?
No, it's I'm such a good podcaster. But for like I've seen that example with dogs, but I think it's just pets in general. Cats maybe a little bit of a different story, but at the very least for dogs, we are gods. We are almost these immortal beings, like the elves, for that matter. Like we live 5 times as long as they do. We have a living space that, is warm, is nice, is cozy without any effort. Like we don't have to go running around or, like find some place that we can hide and warm ourselves up. And it's like fully enclosed and heated and ventilated and whatever,
Mm-hmm.
Like even the average lifespan for your average size dog is what, 20, 25 years? Like,
oh yeah, I mean anywhere from 10 to 20, 25.
Yeah,
if you're
so
lucky,
about the same as cats, and the average lifespan for us mortal humans is like 80. So yeah, like we live a good 4 times longer.
I like the comparison too. Is that humans to animals is kind of like elves to humans. And if you look at Tolkien, I mean, they kind of look at us as like these short-lived, not very wise, very impulsive creatures that need their wisdom and guidance.
Some of us are more like
true.
dwarves, and others are more like elves.
It's true. Always identified with dwarves. Speaking of video games too, I haven't played an MMO of that. Well, I kind of did. I played Destiny 2 for a couple years, but I was really into EverQuest back in the day. I played from 99 to 2004. I played a dwarven cleric of Brel. So, I would run around shouting praise Brel and hammers high and all that good stuff. It was fun. I was on a PvP server, but I did the role play thing, and I typed in a faux, Cockney Scottish type of matey Irish dwarven voice. That was pretty silly. I had to give that up because I was playing like 12 hours a day, and you can't do that. You got to be, I didn't get a lot done during that time period.
You get
Of course, I was
lost.
going to school too, so I was like, that was most of it as well. I was like, this was my hobby between classes and homework. So
yeah.
Anyway.
No, but I understand. Like you get lost in those kind of games. I have a tendency as well. But like yeah, so for for pets, for our pets, we are almost gods. We are these, like greater beings, we don't
For
have
sure.
to hunt. We can just open something up with light inside and it's cold inside and there's food there.
Yeah.
How
Well,
we
the
do
magic of
it?
operating the handle on a door. They have no concept of a handle and how it latches, and
No.
that we can just take this wall and make a hole in it, and we can go out through the hole. How did you do that? That's
Yeah.
amazing.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
So, those for, the average animal brain, those are almost like divine powers.
for sure.
So, like divinity, I guess it is very subjective in a way, or
Yeah.
yeah,
Some, I don't know. It depends, I guess, on a lot on how you conceptualize these things. Because I think most, I would say, normies or folks who are actively religious, let's just say Christians specifically, and they're like, no, this is a real entity, a real being, God. God exists, and maybe it's not a man in a robe, but that's a nice conceptualization that makes it more relatable to us. But whatever it is, it literally, physically there, and it has taken action in the past, and it does want specific things. So, you know, it's one of those things where, like, if you're a true believer, then you're not, then you don't think it's fake at all. But then there's degrees of that as well, where it's kind of like maybe, and you can tell me whether I'm in the middle or you're closer towards the middle on that one. But for me, I'm like, what would I say? I think there is, like, I wrote a poem a long time ago. I'm like, I'm always trying to clarify my thoughts, and it's kind of a poem, but kind of a response to the idea of belief. And it was, it's not that I don't believe a God exists. It's that I don't believe all the vain and greedy people who tell me they know what God is and what he wants from me. That's the biggest problem. Because I've got to get these ideas from somewhere. I've got to trust someone. And there are a lot of vain people who grandiose. They think they're right, whether they are or not. That's the self-vanity. And then there's the greedy people who they're grifting. They just tell you what you want to hear because they want your money.
yeah, they want
So
that tithing, that
yeah, so
10%.
that was my conundrum way back in the day, and I don't know that I've resolved it exactly. I think I have a better idea of what I think God is, and I think it is there, and I think it is something. What exactly that something is, we may never know. So I'm comfortable with that. They say it's the ineffable. It's something which cannot be described. The Buddhists say that about the Tao. It's just the way. It is the way things are, and
Yeah.
you either flow in harmony or you try and swim upstream. But man, you're going to get tired, and the stream's going to carry you anyway. So
Yeah.
a lot of
No,
my is talking about trying to harmonize with the natural way things work. And then you get the idiots out there like, well, cancer's natural. I'm like, sure, you got me. That's definitely what I'm talking about. You should just go with cancer because it's natural. It's not the naturalistic
Sure.
fallacy. It's
Sure.
it's like gravity. I mean, gravity just is. You can be angry about it and you can try to ignore it, but you're still going to fall over if you lose your balance, and you still need a whole lot of thrust to get a rocket into outer space. It's just the way, and you just got to, first recognize it for what it is, see it accurately, and then decide what you want to do about it. And that's what a lot of these, say instruction books are. Is like, well, okay, here's what the world is, here's how it works, and here's what you should do about it. And that, I think that's kind of what characterizes a religion. Am I missing an element? I'm just kind of making this up on the fly.
No, you're. It sounds like me 10 years ago. I believe there is something, I just don't know what it is. And then I stumbled upon the pagan path, and I'm like, oh, well, this is it.
Yeah, there you go. If those things speak to you and give you meaning, and you find you're able to better, and a lot of the proof is in the pudding. So they say, like, the Bible is basic instructions before leaving Earth. Okay, that's clever. That's cute. But it is,
yeah, okay.
That's what it's, whether it is or isn't, that's what it's meant to be. These stories are meant to be informative, instructive, and all of the above. So I was going somewhere with that. I forgot. Never mind.
Yeah, no, I mean, same thing with poetic edda, same thing with the prose edda, same thing with the Havamal, same thing with all the different stanzas. Like, they're not religious texts. Like, every time I speak to Christians, like, so, like, what are your religious texts? Well, we don't have any. Okay, that does not compute. But there's stories about our gods. There's stories about our ancestors, and yeah, we are supposed to learn from those stories. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been written down. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been
Yeah.
regarded as so important. But yeah, they're I mean, they're not necessarily instructions, but they're guidelines. It's like if you want to honor the gods, if you want to be a honorable man, honorable woman according to the gods, this is what you should be doing. But it's
Hmm.
it's still kind of leaving the choice up to you. Like, of course, it's preferable if you do, but if you don't, hey, that's up to you, and the consequences are for
Yeah.
yourself as well.
That reminds me of what I was going to say. The key phrase being like proof is in the pudding type of thing is like if a given story or set of stories, or let's say one story, describes a true thing, and you can use that information to successfully navigate a similar situation in your own life and come out of it with the best possible outcome, even if that outcome is tragic because it can't be avoided. Maybe you minimize the damage, that kind of thing, or you avoid a problem because you saw it coming. And that's I'm probably most familiar, as I say, with the Greeks and Greek myths and Christian stuff. So you take the idea of something like Noah and the flood, and it's like, okay, was there ever a man, one man named Noah, and he walked with God, and God told him to build a boat, and then a flood came? I'd fuck if I know. I mean, I think probably the Younger Dryas impact theory about 12,000 years ago, asteroid hit somewhere, I think in the Atlantic, and then swamped Atlantis, swamped the civilization that was in the Mediterranean at the time, which we had then leftover vestiges of that made it into Egyptian myth, Greek myth, and biblical lore, of course. Long story short. So, but is it true that you are a man going through life who's trying to, say, walk with God? And if they describe God as the way, the truth, and the life, and all that kind of stuff. So, if you're trying to follow the Tao, live in harmony with the world around you, paying attention to your footsteps as you're moving forward and what's likely coming on the horizon, you're in the best possible position to say, I see a problem is about to confront me. I can get ready for it before it gets here. That preparedness will help me survive better. And not only that, it'll help my friends and family survive with me because I'm in a better position to help them. So is it real, whether or not it ever happened? I think yes. I think stories are valuable to the degree that they describe a true phenomenon that gives you useful information for the best possible outcome, so that the proof is in the pudding type of thing. So if your stories that you find meaningful give you insights into human nature and human struggles and how to overcome particular obstacles, how to walk in the world in a way that honors the gods so that they smile upon you and smooth the way forward for you, I think it's very real. I think even fake gods, if they serve that purpose, it's as real as anything, which is an interesting thing. It's all about how you describe real and fake. It's something that never happened, nonetheless still real. I think so. Which, I mean, I don't know how to reconcile these. I live with a lot of contradictions in my head that just I don't think can necessarily be resolved. So, which one is it? Yes, it is both. I love that. I love that yin yang too. It's like, yeah, we're all comprised of opposites in a lot of ways, and they just have to coexist. This is just one of those things that
Yeah.
no, it doesn't make sense. Yes, that's the way it is. Deal with it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think you're definitely making a valid point. Like, it doesn't matter whether, the stories are literal, allegorical, metaphorical. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Like, it's about the teachings.
Hmm.
It's about, like, what do you do with those stories? What do you do, with the characters and the shit that they go through? What lessons are
Yeah.
you taking out of them?
And we can get that from pure fantasy novels like Lord of the Rings. I mean, no one has to believe Gandalf and Frodo ever went on an adventure, but they can read the story and see things that not just entertain, but inform and kind of give a perspective on. More than anything, it gives us people to aspire to emulate in that way of like, I want to be more like this guy because he did things
Yeah.
that I mean, why? And it's universal. I think I'd say like 98, 99% of people at least get a little verklempt at that scene at the end where Aragorn takes a knee and says, "No, my friends, no one bows to you." Oh, I know you're feeling it with me.
Oh,
I got the
yeah, man.
shivers. I got the
Oh,
chills.
dude,
Well, there's another
fucking
scene like that.
same.
I get the same feeling from, you remember the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, I think it was part 2, Dr. Octopus, was that part 1? I don't remember.
Yeah.
But he was saving the train full of people, and he exhausted himself, and he passed out and was about to fall, and they caught him.
and then was
And they
like
brought him in, and they
carried
passed
away.
him hand over hand.
Yeah.
A kid his age. Whoa. And I'm like, I'm getting all verklempt against the heroic moment. That thing where you've done something amazing and people truly appreciate it. They truly get it. And they give you the proper respect for that thing. So what should we draw? Well, the lesson I draw from that is I want to do things that make the people around me feel like that towards me. And it's hard to save the world. The world is 7 billion people, and it's millions of miles around, or however thousands of miles around. I don't even know. Millions of miles to the sun, thousands of miles around on the earth.
Just a lot.
The circumference, I think it's, I've forgotten, but it's like 10,000 something miles, something like that. Anyway, so you've got to then, okay, well, how can I do this in a realistic and practical way? Well, just the people in my life. And number one, I take care of me as best I can so that I'm in good shape to take care of my wife, and vice versa. But then we try to construct our life in a way that makes us able to help others. And you get this ripple in the pond. I mean, so many fantastic analogies, be the ripple in the pond so that your actions spread out and positively impact other people. The funny thing about that is it's one of those truths is like, you are the ripple in the pond either way. So make sure your actions are not bad, because that is going to ripple also. So it might be interesting to theorize, or like, what was the question I had in my head a moment ago? It's like, what makes a person, or what kind of person needs a story to be true in order to feel like it's real? And the thought that occurred to me is like, well, we don't want to invest our belief in things we know to be false. We have kind of a human inclination against it. Well, if it's not true, why would I believe it? So we kind of want to believe that the things we believe are true, that they actually did happen. And maybe it's a different kind of individual like myself, or I don't know, who doesn't need things to be real in order to be true. Or maybe most people have never come across that idea before. I think Jordan Peterson has been popularizing that idea lately. I think he would agree with me, or he would also say, it doesn't matter whether it ever happened. It's about the story itself. It's about the truth of the story.
Yeah.
And I think that's, in a way, that's kind of what we do when we're giving analogies by way of example to prove some argumentative point. We're making it up. We're saying, what if this happened? You see the scenario and how it turned out. Well, that's what I'm talking about. People have and maybe there's a certain type of person that really can't grasp argument by analogy either. And they'd be a very concrete type of individual is like, but that didn't happen. I'm like, yeah, it's just a what if. It's just well, then what if what? Nothing happened. Don't do that. I've actually come across people like that are just, they kind of, okay, I'll have to take a different tack if I want to communicate with this. It's not all the time. And I don't do a lot of online arguing anymore outside of Twitter.
There's not enough to be argued on Twitter.
Right? You can find an argument about anything if you're looking for it.
Oh, God.
Keywords, some stuff.
It's why I stay away from that platform as much as possible, really.
Yeah, I argue less with certain people. Like, if I make a point and someone comes back with an irrelevant response that's kind of insulting, I just respond with the GIF that says, understandable, have a great day. I'm not gonna, whatever.
That's so annoying when people do that. It's so fucking bad. I mean, I am a millennial, but I at certain times just like very much like to give them just the boomer thumbs up.
There you go. The kid at the 90s computer.
That's even better. Just
yeah, one of my favorites. Well, that expression and that thumbs up makes me think of, I think his name's Chow Yun Fat, and he's playing in some Chinese 1980s police drama, and he's in a wheelie chair, and he pops around a corner, he's chewing on some food, and he's like, whatever, dude, you do you.
Cool story, bro. Yeah.
Like, there's just, I think I've learned lately who is or is not worth arguing with sometimes. It used to be, I would argue with anybody about anything because I was searching. And then once I started finding answers, then I stopped arguing with people about the things that I think I've got a handle on. And now I just say certain things that I think are true, and if people agree or disagree. So sometimes I'm just thinking out loud, and sometimes I'm responding to try and add perspective, and then I try to divorce myself from the results. It's like, I have done everything I can by saying this. You agree, you don't, you get it, you don't. It's nothing I can do about that. But I felt like it needed to be said, which is a great thing too. There's a phrase that I don't know if it's a poem or something someone came up with years ago. It's like, before interacting, engaging, or responding to a certain thing, ask yourself 3 questions. Does this need to be said? Does this, what I'm about to say, need to be said? Is there some reason behind it? Does this need to be said by me? Maybe someone else could handle it better. Maybe I wait. Maybe I'm not the one to say it, whatever.
Mhm.
And the third question is, does this need to be said by right now? Is this the right time and place and forum for interaction to engage with this? So, I mean, I think if more people ask themselves those questions, and it's a wonderfully poetic composition to it as well. Does this need to be said by me? Does this need to be said by me? Or does this need to be said by me right now? It's like a 3-part.
Yeah.
Anyway, I
Yeah.
fucked it up already. You
No,
get the
no,
idea.
I get it. I get it.
So it's kind of, that's a very virally mimetic idea as well. And I think that's why humans love our aphorisms. That's actually, I've got a lot of books that I'm probably never going to get around to writing, but one of them is A Wizard's Guide to the Aspirational Aphorism. And the purpose of it would be to take things where, so I would start with something simple like page 1, whatever it is, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Now, wait a minute. Let's look at all the things this doesn't mean. Doctors are not afraid of apples like vampires are afraid of a cross. That's
No?
not what it
Oh,
means. So we go through that kind of stuff. And it's like, so wait a minute. Apples are healthy for you, but just eating apples keeps you out of the doctor's office? No, if you ate nothing but apples, you would probably develop some other nutritional deficits. It's not a healthy, okay, that's not what it means. So let's reduce it to what it is if you pay attention to your health, if you eat healthy, number one, you're going to be less sick later on. So, and there's a lot of people that they challenge those aphorisms like, yeah, but there's an exception. I'm like, if there's always an exception, that's not. You run
those
across that.
argumentative people. You
Yeah.
know, the actually, like those guys.
That's who they are. They're that guy.
It's
Yeah.
just
And I'm like, you're not wrong, but that's really. And then you throw up the GIF missing the point as it flies overhead.
yeah.
I love those.
Yeah, no, exactly. I see those people a lot, you know. We had one the other day in the round table I'm often on with Bush Whisperer Shaman. You know, like he took one comment and is like, so nobody's gonna question this? You know, like you all think it's normal that this person does that? And it's like, bro, that's not what it's about. You know, you're looking to argue. You're looking to, you know, like make the live chat and the live roundtable because we see the chat happening. You're trying to make it about you. It's not about you. Fuck off.
Yeah. And I'm unfortunately, I think I've probably been that guy in the past when when I have been seeking to better understand what those aphorisms actually mean.
Yeah, okay,
I've been the guy to go, but wait a minute, that doesn't really cover all bases. Like, but then I had to personally get to a point where I was like, okay, but it's true for most cases. And then also the idea of like, there are some people who are like, I say, oh, here's the rule. Here's what generally happens. Here's like covers, 98, 99% of cases. And someone says, not all. So it's not really a rule. I'm like, it took me a long time to understand this phrase too. The exception proves the rule. And I'm like, wait a minute. If there's exceptions, then it's not a rule. No. It's a contradiction that exists together, and both things are true. Exception to a rule is typically extraordinary, an outlier for a reason.
Yeah.
There's some way they don't fit a typical pattern. So the pattern exists. Just because the edge might be a little fuzzy and there might be a few people that fall outside, that doesn't mean the pattern's not there. That doesn't mean it's not ubiquitous. It doesn't mean it's not probably good advice for, as I say, 99, 98% of people. And then you get around to, so this is one situation where you got to see, what's right for you as well. So for me, being a parent, having kids, not the right thing to do. Never did it, never wanted to. The whole idea terrified me, not just for my own sake, like, I don't want to give up my comfy lifestyle, but I'm going to mess up a kid. There's no way I'm going to do that right. So I'm just not going to make a kid that I mess up. And I'm not, a lot of people go, oh God, how was your relationship with their parents? They're great people. They did a good job. I don't blame them for anything. I'm just looking at like, I can't do this. That is beyond my capacity. And I had to be honest about that for, because I was thinking about, I'm 12, 13, 15. I'm starting to learn, eventually I'm going to be an adult, and adults get married and have kids. And do I want that? Should I do that? And then my decision was no. But I consider myself to be that exception that proves the rule of like, okay, if you're someone like me, maybe this is not for you. But for 98, 99% of all the other humans on the globe, you probably want to get married, have kids, and that's your meaning of life. And that's your ticket to the best possible fulfilling purpose in life, even if there's exceptions like me. And hey, maybe you're an exception too. Probably not. There was the chance that I probably was not an exception either. I had to really wrestle with the idea and then come around to that idea. So yeah, that's what I get to with these aphorisms. It's like, I can't think of any others, but you've got to be interested in figuring out why it's generally correct. And then you can identify the outliers and exceptions. And then that helps you find out, well, am I one of the exceptions or not? But anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Never wanted to be a father, so you just took in a bunch of cats instead.
Pretty much. Yeah, no, I still have lots of love and compassion to give, and I still hope to mitigate the suffering of creatures that are around me. And I don't this, and that's the other thing too, is people get really hung up on some of their specific beliefs, and they're like, well, if you don't want what I want, then there's something wrong with you. I'm like, well, sure, you could say there's something wrong with me. Maybe, and maybe I was born with something wrong that made me terrified of damaging a human when everybody's scared. And you just kind of do it anyway because you should. There's a kind of multiply thing, as a commandment in there ish. Not actually one of the 10 commandments, but still.
No,
anyway.
I mean, I am a father. I have I have 2 kids. Well, 3 if you count Firefay, her son as well. I'm trying the best that I can from a distance. And yeah, being a parent is absolutely fucking terrifying because, you find out that, your parents too had no idea
Nobody
what
does.
the hell they were doing. They know to feed you, they know to clothe you, they know to clean you, they know that...
Try not to drop you on your head.
Yeah, for example, although I guess with some people,
it happens.
Yeah. And some people may have been better off being
objects.
dropped on their head as well.
That's true. I hit rocks, sliding glass doors. I probably got a lot of head trauma as a kid. None of it my parents' fault. Most of it me. One example. I was like 5 years old maybe, and my parents are like, let's go to the Hoover Dam. Well, my dad mostly. My mom's kind of comes along. I was like, so my dad's an engineer, civil designs towers, so he's got a big fascination with the Hoover Dam. Huge, magnificent project.
Yeah.
And he wanted to take his kid to go see it. And well, what do? I'm a little shit. And they're calling me as I run away, looking back over my shoulder, laughing at them like, haha, can't get me. I turned around just in time to go face first into a giant rock and knock bloody forehead, crying and all that stuff. And now they probably felt terrible. Why couldn't I save my son? No, it was entirely my fault. I was a stupid kid playing games when I shouldn't have and got myself hurt. And I mean, lessons like that of like, okay, God, if I had a kid like that, I would just die. I would have a heart attack.
I mean, that's being a kid.
I couldn't sleep from constant anxiety. I mean, this is going to be horrible. Yeah. So, and sometimes you just do it anyway. You're like, this is important enough. This is what I should do. This is what I feel called to do. And definitely, by all means, I'm not an anti-natalist, even if I kind of used to be, but that's a whole nother kettle of fish. Not anymore. I'm like, it's fine. Do what you got to do.
Yeah,
people are going to have kids.
Like at the same time, look at that baby in your arms. He is totally your baby. He's totally being your baby now.
Yeah, he is. I just need them to kind of take care of themselves mostly. I'm not even a dog person because they need too much attention. Like I can't. The only dog you might have seen in the past, I had that little white dog, Peanut. He would sit in my lap sometimes. You may or may not. Well, he passed a while ago. He had issues and he had to go. So hope you're okay. Need coffee. It's okay. I'll keep telling a story here. Even him. I mean, I found myself thinking of him the other day of like, if he was still here, I would need to worry about letting him out in the snow and bringing him back in and making sure, he was okay. And was he able to go to the bathroom? Are there raccoons out there in the dark? Just that level. So I don't even want a dog. That level of responsibility is just too much. It's too anxiety provoking for me. So, oh my God, having kids, I don't think I could do it. I don't even know if I could say take in an adopted kid or something, even one that was a little bit older and a little more self. You don't have to wipe their butt, but you got to make sure they're getting their homework done, that kind of thing. And I don't know if I can handle that. I've thought about, what am I saying? I've thought about doing that. Like, do I have a say maybe a social or human responsibility to say, to take in a kid that doesn't have a house, he's living in foster care and, or an orphan or something like that. And part of me wants to be that kind of a hero in a way. And that's another thing about our concept of heroics has gotten a little screwed up, I think. We think of, someone's only a hero if they, have spider powers or a cape and they fly or the strength of Hercules. I'm like, well, these heroes were set up as aspirational figures, sure. But it's what was it? I saw some view, speaking of cats, of there was it cats or was kids? There was a guy that like a pizza delivery guy or something like that, Uber driver or something, that ran into a burning house, and I think it was a kid, saved a kid. And then heard there was another one trapped in there, went back and did it a second time and jumped out the second story window.
Yeah,
you heard that story?
I saw that story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a hero. That's just a dude
hero. Absolutely.
who responded in the situation. Didn't have the strength of Hercules. He wasn't invulnerable to fire. That's even more impressive in my mind. You've got someone literally just weak but determined. I think that's a big trope in anime too, and I think it's on purpose. A lot of these stories are, what is it?
Well, it's the hero's journey.
It is very much. Yeah. And it's, so you get the call to adventure, you go, oh, you've made it into the special school for gifted kids or whatever. And maybe some of them have powers and whatnot, and sure. But what am I trying to say? It's the idea of someone who maybe even isn't special, talented, powerful, any of those things, but they have a strong drive to do what's right. And they've got that determination to see it through. And those kind of themes show up in anime a lot, of the person,
Yeah, no, that's all about like sacrifice and self-sacrifice as well. To have a strong drive, to have a strong will, is to sacrifice the insecurity, to sacrifice the thoughts of what may happen for just fighting for the desired outcome. And that's what that Uber delivery guy, I've seen the story, I have no idea who it is, but, on the odd chance that you are watching, on the odd chance that you are listening, bro, you are a fucking hero. Don't let anyone tell you anything else.
Well, and then you ask him and he'll be like, I'm not a hero. And that's pretty common of heroes.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't even see myself in that way. I don't feel better than I think I am because I did this. It just needed to be done.
So let's take that. We were talking about people, the actually and the what ifs. Let's take that that comment from the other side. What if he did, acknowledge like, oh yeah, I'm a hero. I know I'm a hero. Does that still make him, a hero if he has let's say the blown up ego,
Sure.
What is it? Homelander? Is that kind of a? I haven't seen that.
Did you watch The Boys or no?
No, I don't. But I mean, I kind of.
Homelander's kind of the villain, and he does have an inflated sense of ego. But they also explain his childhood and how he ended up that way, and it's not entirely his fault.
I should watch it.
It's a really good series. The latest season was a little meh, but that's okay.
But like, what if he?
It's a fair point, though.
Like he is a hero for doing that. But as a hero, like, aren't you kind of supposed to say like, oh, it was nothing. It was just,
I think we like that
I did
more.
it because I don't even know why I did it. Like, it was just an instantaneous response, a reaction. Like, I saw someone in trouble. I knew there was trouble. I just went out and do it.
My feet were moving before my brain caught up.
Did.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a bit of a trope again of the quintessential hero also being humble and saying no thanks are necessary, no parades, no glory. I don't really think I'm all that great. We kind of like that, but he's humble too. But if someone did something heroic and someone said you're a hero and he's like, you're right, I am, that was pretty damn heroic, I'm proud of myself, I don't think that takes anything from it. I think that's actually kind of funny. I mean, I said it in a funny way intentionally because I'm not even comfortable taking that idea seriously. I think we want humility in the hero as well. So that kind of colors what we expect in a way, but I don't think it actually takes anything away from the act for the person to then have a realistic appraisal of it going, yeah, yeah, maybe I should tell people I'm a hero and that this is a heroic thing to do and that, you know what, they should do it too. And if you want to be a hero, you should be like me. I did a heroic thing. Um, yeah, that does sit so uncomfortably though, because it's like maybe it's a Western thing as well.
Maybe it is because
Yeah.
like just yesterday evening, I started watching, like speaking of, the Greek gods and all, I started watching Hercules, The Legendary Journeys with
Oh, those were fun.
Kevin Sorbo.
Back in the day, yeah.
Yeah.
With
Like
the spin-off Xena, and then Hercules and Xena got together in some episodes. I watched all that shit in the 90s. I did.
I mean,
loved it.
I have like I can remember like snippets of it. I don't think I've like ever watched a full episode, but just see everybody who's absolutely lyric about it, like, oh, that was so good, and
Mhm.
like now I'm watching it, and the CGI is absolutely fucking horrendous.
Oh, it's terrible. And if you're grown up at all, they really were for kind of kids and teenagers in a way. If you're grown
Yeah,
up at
but
all, it's a little campy and goofy and
it
silly, and
is.
that
It
makes it
is.
fun too. You get some of the over the top characters like Ares, I think, was in there, and he's got this long dark hair and his beard or mustache or whatever. And
Oh,
he's
I'm
very full of himself and
yeah, or
cocky
like
and
I'm still like finishing up season one.
Mhm.
Like they're 45-minute episodes. This is pretty damn long, actually.
Yeah, they were hour long with commercials of 45 minutes at the
Yeah,
end of it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
The what is it? The toga salesman from, I believe, like episode 2, episode 3. Well, he's a goofy character. He's kind of like the annoying sidekick character, but that makes it fun. But where I was going with this is like I noticed that in the show, it's like he knows he's Hercules. Everyone knows who
Mhm.
Hercules is, even if they, don't necessarily know, he is Hercules. So why does he do the things that he does? Well, because he's Hercules, and that is what is expected of him.
Mhm.
But he still saves the day. He still saves, the king or the damsel in distress or the kids. So
Mhm.
he is still a hero at the end of the day, or make sure that somebody else triumphs, making him kind of the hero, but the other guy the victor, if you will. Um, and But does that make him less in any way? Like, he knows he's a hero. He knows he's
Yeah.
Hercules. He knows what's expected of him. That's why he does it. It's not out of the kindness of his heart. I mean, I'm sure that plays a part in it as well. I'm not, really up on my Greek mythology. But it's like, yeah, I'm Hercules. I'm the son of Zeus. I'm a hero. I have like divine strength and will and all. So this is what I am supposed to
Mhm.
do. It's not, the like in contrast to the example that we just mentioned, it's not very heroic. It's like, oh yeah, you know, it's my job really to be a hero.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting too, because then we think of our, say, firemen specifically, because that guy ran to the house, and when the firemen wouldn't, they're like, that's dangerous. We can't. It's our policies and procedures say when a house is that engulfed, you don't go running in because you're probably going to die, or get injured, and we don't require that. We want them to be able to live to fight another fire. We don't want people sacrificing their lives if it can be helped. When it comes down to something like that. But I was going somewhere with that. I the thought that came to my mind was the idea of the functional utility. Why would an idea persevere, and why would it be endorsed? So the humility of the hero to say, "Oh no, I'm not a hero. It's just what I do."
Mhm.
I think the purpose of that is to make it a part of the story that you don't get a big head. You don't start thinking you're entitled to special treatment, even if maybe you kind of are. Maybe you get a parade. Maybe you get a little reward. But, you should also be humble about that, because um, other stories show us how heroes go wrong by becoming egomaniacs, and then they turn into the villain. So
Yeah.
it's like, wait a minute. How do you prevent that? Well, you keep your you keep your humility. So I think we like that. It feels good because we're like, okay, here's a person who's worth praise, worthy of praise, but they're not going to let it go to their head and turn them into a monster. That's the best way to avoid that.
I mean,
I think that's the purpose. It just occurred to me.
sure. No,
I'm open to.
That's where we get the well-known phrase. You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Right? Yeah, for
And
sure.
it's it's true, and it's hard to stay humble. Especially when you're becoming more well known and the praise gets more, or more people start to praise you.
Yeah, you got a million people telling you how awesome you are. You're like, maybe I'm pretty awesome.
Yeah. Like
I don't think I ever want a million followers, anywhere, ever. I don't want to be that. I want to be successful. I don't necessarily want to be famous. That's kind of what I'm shooting for.
Is there, can you be one without the other?
I don't know. I just assumed when you went, I'm like, you know what? You're right. You didn't even have to say it. I'm like, maybe they go together. Maybe that's the only way for, because a hero becomes, well, it's okay. So there is the act of heroism, and that defines a hero as well. But there's also an element of renown. There's that idea of becoming then well known for this act of heroism. And I suppose the only way to avoid that totally is, and I'm not even sure if Batman's a good example of it, but he just kind of dips in the dark, does his thing, and gets the hell out. He doesn't show up for parades. He doesn't take praise well. That's all part of his, his psychology, that kind of thing. Don't tell me what a good job I did. Tell me where the next bad guy is. I got work to do. I got time for that.
I mean, I guess Batman and both Superman, to take the two main ones.
And then Wonder Woman, the Holy Trinity, as they say.
Sure, yeah, like all those, I mean, I guess they're the big three, if you will.
The big three, yeah. I just threw them in there because there's actually a a book, I think,
you're
a comic
right,
book
but
called Trinity, which is about them.
They all live double lives. They're not like full-time hero, if you will.
It's a good thing to think of with the secret identity thing. It's not just protecting the ones around you so that villains don't target your family, but it's also one way to keep yourself humble. It's like most interactions you have with people as your alter ego, secret identity, they don't treat you like anything special. And you're like, okay, this is what normal human interactions are like. And yeah, I gotta deal with the praise when I'm in the suit, but otherwise I could just be me and be normal. I think that would be, that reminds me of another thing. Futurama, they had an episode where Bender is floating in space and he gets a whole colony of microbes that turn into a civilization and then launch nukes at each other. Some of them live on his ass. Some of them live on his
shiny
belly.
metal ass.
Yes, it's hilarious. And what he does is at the very end, he speaks with what appear to be flashing stars. And it has a deep voice and it's very understanding, sympathetic, and a bit wry. And, and so he gets I don't know how it comes about, but the flashing stars that are speaking to him shoot him back across the galaxy. Oh, sure, I can do that if you want. Go home. And then the last thing it says is that, if you do it just right, no one will be sure you've done anything at all. I love that. I kind of love that. That idea of, that's like the ultimate in humility in a way, is like, I'm only concerned with the outcome. I don't care if anyone knows I did it. And as much as I don't live up to that, I would like to. I'd like to be that kind of person that is absolutely so divorced from praise that it doesn't even matter. The problem with that then is you, in some ways, get divorced from criticism, which you kind of need to because nobody's perfect. And how do you figure out if you're screwing up when you can't see it? Well, someone's got to tell you. So maybe if you are literally a god, then you don't need criticism. But most humans do. So,
Fair enough.
But then there's a whole nother level. I'm just rambling now, but the idea of we are designed to take, evolutionary psychology style, we're designed to take criticism from immediate compatriots or friends in a small group setting. We know you. We saw what happened. Here's feedback directly from us because we're the people most affected. But then you get the internet. And now you've got people who just disagree with an idea and they're going to come at you like a nuclear missile and try and destroy your entire life because they hate you because you believe something they don't. And now you've got maybe thousands of those people sending you messages, and people are more motivated to send a message of critique than they are a message of praise. So you get a skewed feedback loop from, so you may have 1 million followers, but you get 1,000 messages a day telling you, KYS. You're like, wow, people really hate me. No, a very small minority of people who don't even know you have mean things to say. And I don't know how I would react to that. I mean, I get responses from people that are rude, but not that many. And I shine it on, and I'm rude back to them, and well, screw you too, buddy. I'm not your buddy, pal.
I'm not your pal, buddy.
Right? The flappy heads. I love that. But I have no idea how I would deal with it. Say if I hit Jordan Peterson's level of fame and acclaim and criticism.
No,
I'm like, no wonder he, went on meds and ended up in a hospital, and I probably would too. I can't blame him.
Or you turn into a who's the other guy? I forget his name. Like they're always mentioned in the same breath.
Another psychology commentator or a philosophy guy. Maybe think of Sam Harris, but I don't know if Sam Harris is the guy you're thinking of.
He's like the shadow side. Like he's in the red pill, the former kickboxer.
Thinking about Andrew Tate.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah,
like either you
I've
kind
gotten
of
in
become
trouble kind of defending him a little bit.
No, but
Yeah.
I think like those are really like polar opposites.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like
Tate and
you
is
become
nothing like Peterson,
either you become
and vice
one
versa.
or you become the other. I mean, they're both like in the self-help
Sure.
psychology. Here's how you're a man. The one guy says, just clean your room, bucko, and the other guy says, well, go be a pimp.
Yeah, for sure. Or at least to have a strong pimp hand one way or another.
Yeah.
But then you also get into things like, what did Tate say the other day? He said something like, any man who only has children with one woman is not really a top level alpha or whatever. It's like, I'm misquoting him. So don't, and I don't endorse that advice necessarily, but there is something to where an exception to the rule type of thing. Like I was talking about before, like
Sure.
Elon, 99.99% of people on the entire planet should have one relationship with one person with whom they have kids and stay married to for their entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got guys like Elon. Okay, if you are an Elon Musk, it's not that it's good to have 13 different baby mamas or however many there are, but 13 different kids with different women. But he can do that in a way that I can't. You can't. Nobody can.
I mean,
He
can
kind of pull it
also-
off, even if it isn't ideal. And I don't endorse, go knock up a bunch of women. But then but that's what Andrew Tate is speaking to. He's speaking to that idea of if you're a Tate, if you're a Musk, you can do that, and that's actually a sign of
Yeah, I guess that's
not something to aspire to. But what am I trying to say? It's something they can get away with that other people can't.
Exactly.
They can mitigate. They can deal with the consequences of that. They can provide for 13 kids.
yeah. No,
Even if it's better that they were in the house and a father to those kids individually. Maybe he needs to start like a cult compound where all his kids and together. Elon just needs to convert to Mormonism and he's good.
Convert to Mormonism, move to Utah. I mean, Mormonism it's a cold as fuck anyway.
Most religions are, yeah. It's very weird. You look at the root of words, and cult is the root word of culture. It is what we all believe and how we all behave in this group. And we've words have the denotative meaning. It's just, it is what it is. It's a small group of people that share a common belief and practice neutrally. I mean, that's not the direct definition. But then you get the denote or connotative meaning, which we think of a cult as weird, dysfunctional, counter to positive psychological practices. A lot of things go, cult practices is how to know you're in a cult type of thing. So they cut you off from your friends and family. They make you behave in strange ways. They put pressure. They love bomb you and withdraw. There's a lot of manipulative tactics that go into that connotative meaning of what a cult is. Cult, bad, we say. Not necessarily. I mean, Christianity was a cult back when it was brand new, and it became a worldwide religion. Anything, Islam was a cult for a minute until it conquered half the Middle East, So cult is just kind of the toddler form of what could become a religion if it spreads, if it's, anyway.
No, but that's a good one. Actually,
Haven't thought of it that way before.
I never thought about it like that. Well, like
It was
a lot
probably
of
a
those
cult of the Norse gods before it became more prolific, And those were the early adopters, the people who kind of figured out the stories or pulled them together from other bits of wisdom. That's what I think the Bible is too, is like a lot of leftover stuff from Atlantis, from And here's a weird thing. I've now mentioned that twice. There's a conception among the... I also feel like I cut you off. Sorry. Did you want to finish your thought? Or...
No, you're
Okay.
you're
All right. We'll talk about Atlantis for a second. It's a weird thing. I didn't used to believe it. I used to poo-poo it. And still, I don't believe in the straw man version of it. Oh, there was an island and they had all flying cars and free energy and they had all this. I don't know if they had any of that shit. I think there was a historic, in a way, civilization that was destroyed by a great flood. And that's where we get the flood stories. And it wasn't like specifically an island that then sank under the waves. If you look at the way it was described in Plato or Aristotle or Socrates, whoever talked about it the most, it was a civilization swallowed by the sea, which would comport with a giant tsunami smashing through
flooding.
A group of people living together in the Mediterranean that had more than Stone Age technology, whatever that would be.
Sure.
Not flying cars, not energy batteries and shooting lightning bolts out of their fingers. And it's nothing magic like that. A lot of people go to the straw man version and say, well, that never happened. I'm like, you're right. That never happened. And that's not what I'm talking about. So you get guys like, Graham Hancock, and he's poo-pooed with this idea. It's like, you mean civilization couldn't have existed and then a meteor sends a tidal wave and it got wiped out? Long story short, I think a lot of what made it into collected volumes of wisdom, like the Bible and like other stories, is leftovers that weren't that fully formed back then, but that then evolved into the stories we have today. And they tightened and they used less words and they used less, and they were more direct and to the point. And the other thing I was going to say too, way back when we were starting all this stuff too, is that there's a reason we like getting there's a reason it's so effective to have stories in stories, to have wisdom or information communicated in that style, whether or not a specific person ever actually lived. You make it more personal. Like, hey, here's a guy. He's just like you. Here's the situation he was in. You might encounter this situation. Here's what he did, and here's the consequences. And sometimes, and this is where you get some people who are like the anti-theist crowd. They're like, oh yeah, well, what about the parts of the Bible where they did bad things? I'm like, well, that was bad. And you should learn from those stories too. Maybe you don't want to be that guy doing that thing, because look how it turned out for him. That's not so good. And look how he hurt people around him. So yeah, it's not all an instruction booklet of examples to follow. It is very often examples not to follow. And I'll stop there because I'm out of words. But those are all my thoughts. Yeah. Cautionary tales. Grimm's fairy tales, full of them. It's another book I hope to write someday. Is A Wizard's Guide to Grimm's Fairy Tales. What do these stories actually mean? What is Hansel and Gretel about?
I mean, yeah, as a European, as a Germanic European, that's how we preserved a lot of the stories of our ancestors. It's how we preserved a lot of the stories of the lands. We wrote them or weaved them into these, fantastical stories. But again, there are lessons in those. Did Hansel and Gretel really exist? Did they get lost in the woods and found a gingerbread house and all of that?
No one expects them to have really existed. Isn't that funny too? They're like, the story is still meaningful, even if that's pure fiction.
Exactly.
But then they look at other religious texts and they're like, no, it has to be real. It has to be.
Yeah. Are we comparing the Grimm tales to the Bible? Are we on that level of heresy?
Yeah, I think I am.
Cool.
I think they both. Now, I think it would be fascinating, and I would love to see someone do this. Let's take a biblical scholar and a folklore scholar, get them together and have them find other stories that teach the same lesson as the biblical stories. And here's another form of that story, and where perhaps two independent, and in some degrees, Joseph Campbell did this with the hero's journey, Hero with a Thousand Faces. He said, here's the same elements across different traditions, but this is more specific to the idea of the Bible, saying, this wisdom exists and other people came to the same conclusion because it's a real pattern that reoccurs in human life as we age, as we struggle against the world.
Oh,
that would be fascinating. Yeah.
I would love to host a debate like that. I actually know of someone, a writer who has a master's in folklore.
And I would say the idea maybe wouldn't be a debate, but it would be like a collaborative effort to identify similarities.
Yeah.
And now the debates are fun too, but it can also be like, let's explore the subject and try and figure out where these things overlap. And I would say the biblical scholar could say, well, see, that just validates the Bible is true because other people came to the same conclusion. And the folklorist could say, maybe the Bible has some truth in it because I think these stories are valuable because they teach a lesson. Here's another book teaching a similar lesson. Kind of building that bridge too.
Oh man, I would.
That'd be kind of fun.
I would love to host
I hope
that.
you pull that together. Yeah, do it. Send me the link.
That'd be so cool. I mean,
We'll see.
Oh, that's going to be such a long-term project, though.
Ah,
But, hey,
could be.
I mean, that'd be awesome. Kind of going back to the the cult stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I
Derailed that real quick. Sorry.
No, I mean, dude, you went on Atlantis, and I'm like, oh, Atlantis, okay.
Right? So do I
Tell
think
me.
Atlantis is real? Yeah, it's probably one of my kookiest beliefs. And reincarnation, probably real too. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, sure, but as you said, Christianity started out as a cult. Islam started out as a cult. Mithraism, I know a follower of Mithras. I guess it's still kind of considered a cult.
They do refer to it in historical documents anyways, the cult of Mithras.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of like its a proper title in a way.
Yeah, sure. But if you think of modern day cults, the ones that we've all heard about from our
Oh,
favorites.
scared the cat. Didn't mean to snort into the mic. I mean, it makes me think of Heaven's Gate. I mean, that's,
For example,
the Marshall
the-
Applewhite,
the-
and then a bunch of kids castrate themselves and everyone commits suicides. That's what we think of as a cult. That's not good.
No, absolutely not. And we all know the stories. We all have our favorites. True crime podcaster who has spoken about a lot of those stories. My favorites, just because my wife has become good friends with her after I had her on the podcast, Brenda from Horrifying History. Shout out, Brenda. We love you. You good, Tim? You're shaking the whole damn desk.
Yeah, I can hear the caller.
Yeah,
That's okay.
Yeah,
It was very faint.
That's why I gave him the nickname Tinkle Tinkle Timmy.
Yep. Does he have a bell on there? Or is it just the metal on the collar tinking?
No. Let's see. He has a.
I think I see a little bell.
Do you
Yeah,
know,
a little bell. There it is.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's one way to help you not trip over them. I swear these cats are trying to kill me. They want to cut to the part where I die alone and they can eat my eyeballs or something.
It's good nurture.
Right?
Well-
And honestly, if they were trapped and nothing to eat, I would want them to eat my corpse. I wouldn't bother me at all. I'm dead at that point, so I would go bon appetit, little
They
fella.
would anyway. They're ruthless.
Yeah, and as much as they nuzzle on us and love us, and I think to a degree consider us just big dumb cats that really can't. You can't even lick your own butt. How do you take care of yourself?
You
that kind of
don't
thing.
even hunt. How are you not dead yet?
Right? Exactly. That's sometimes that's why they bring us little mice and whatnot. They're trying to feed us like we feed them. The
Yeah, no,
reciprocation there.
absolutely.
But still, when it comes down to it, and they're like, well, that's meat.
Food,
I loved it
food
when he
is
was
food.
alive,
He's
but
he's
food
not.
is food.
He's not getting me any.
He doesn't
He's
need it
not
anymore.
responding. Nibble. Nothing.
Yeah.
Bite. Nothing.
Nothing. Eyeball
Chomp.
time. Yep.
Oh, and hey, if that's there's a saying in Dutch, the eense dood is de andere brood, and it literally means one man's death is another man's life.
True.
So
Yeah.
if that's the same for our cats, why not?
Oh yeah, and I also love that phrase too. Like one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. It's like, what do
yeah.
you believe? What side of an issue are you on? And then that defines some of these things.
Exactly.
Anyway,
No, but we derail.
yeah, we
every-
did all over the place. I don't even know what we're talking about. We're talking about stories or something.
Yeah,
which-
no, the cults.
yes, please.
Those leaders, they are often worshipped as gods, and
Yeah.
you could do the straw man argument, like, oh, but that's because all of those people are they're brainwashed and everything got taken from them,
Granted.
and
Yeah,
their
sure.
leader keeps everything from them. Yeah, that may be so, but they're still worshipped as gods, or as messengers of a certain higher being, whether that be aliens or God. Very often it's God. Like, oh
Sure.
yeah, I can talk to God. Like, oh wow, really? Yeah, and he
Yeah.
said, "Give me all your money and your wife's." You sure he said that?
Interesting.
Oh, like,
Yeah.
you're questioning me, a messenger of God? Oh no, sorry.
You're not becoming a toxic personality, are you? You're not questioning the word of God.
No, exactly.
I listened to a guy on the internet who he describes it this way himself. He says he escaped from the Jehovah's Witness cult, and he started realizing that a lot of the tactics they use to keep their membership in line and from leaving or from questioning, he notices that. And so after he left, he started noticing the mainstream media does a lot of the same thing. They use a lot of the same tactics. An example he gave last night was news commentator said, "We're just learning," from the New York Times, and he paused it and he said, "This is like when the elders of my church would come back and say, you know, we're just learning from the governing board, or we're just learning from the watchtower." And it's like, you mean the people you choose to believe told you something, and now you're sharing it with us as this is incontrovertible truth. It's just truth, that we're learning the truth by listening to these people. And then he noticed the news media does that too. And it's like, now wait a minute. Why would I trust the New York Times? Why would you say we could learn anything from those people if I think they're not a good source?
Isn't that also like kind of one big cult telling us what to think, how to think, what to believe? They're telling us, you know, going back to the comment we said about freedom fighter and terrorist, they're telling us those people are terrorists. You know, they're not freedom fighters, they're terrorists because they're against us. They go against our values. Well, guess what? To those people, you're the terrorist. You know?
Yeah. And that leads to a lot of things where there's, you know, double standards of like, well, it's not bad when we do it. It's the same behavior, but it's a good thing when our side enacts that behavior. And that also made me think of the cult thing too. It's like whether someone has achieved a rational, true belief, true in the honestly arrived at a rational belief in something, or they've been tricked into it, the behavioral result is the same. They act in accordance with that belief, however they arrived at that belief. So in some ways, it doesn't matter how a person arrived at a belief. It's the fact that they do believe that then governs and dictates their behavior. Well, this is the right thing to do because that's what I believe is the right thing to do. In some ways a circular thing, but that gets off into a whole nother branch of like, well, how much should we question everything? Because even the people that are like the most skeptical or paranoid, and that became a mantra, and I think it was out of the 60s, question everything. It means don't just blindly accept traditions as necessarily correct just because they're traditions. And then you got that this is another one of those aphorisms where it's like, okay, it's 99% true. You can't actually question everything. There are too many things to question. So it's a command that is impossible to fulfill. What they mean when you narrow it down more is like, just because someone told you something, don't swallow it unquestioningly. You know, you've still got a brain, use it, that kind of thing.
Exactly, you know, and especially with, you know, authority figures, you know, like we're talking about cult leaders, they are, you know, pretty much authority figures.
Yeah, like they've set themselves up as the ultimate authority over you or your group.
Yeah, exactly. Oftentimes, you know, also just answering to another higher authority because, you know,
not me. God said. I don't
exactly.
Gosh,
you
I
know,
don't want to do this.
I'm just like you. I
don't really want to sleep with your wife, but I mean, God can't disobey God. What are you gonna do?
Oh yeah, you know, sucks to be you. Sucks to be me. Oh, you
also
know,
sucks to be
woe
me.
is me. Woe is me.
I don't really want to do this.
Here's your life.
For sure.
No, and then you have, I believe it was also the New York Times, or at least some major publication in the, I believe that was during COVID times, that they literally put out an article like saying, don't do your own research.
Oh, I know. I hate that. I saw that. So like, are you kidding? This is clown
it's
world.
Like,
That's unbelievable.
Are you fucking kidding me?
You're not qualified, but we are.
Exactly. You know, you're literally telling the people, just listen to us.
Yeah.
We know the truth. You know, we are the established press. Yeah. We are the truth. You know, just like what they've been saying and sometimes still are saying, you know, the science is settled. No, it's not. That goes against what science is. Science
violates the very
is,
nature
you know,
of
like
science.
Speaking of question everything,
science
that is science. It's okay.
Even answers you think you understand, question it again. Look at it from a different angle.
Exactly, you know.
You can't spend your entire life every single day repeating the same experiment because then you'll never eat or sleep or move on to other maybe more important or useful things.
Yeah, no,
there's
exactly.
all the big balancing act with that whole thing. But yeah, I don't think anything did more to ruin the credibility of the concept of an expert more than the COVID years.
Oh,
Being told so many things officially, factually, and if you don't agree, you are censored. That's a big problem. And then now we've got, what is it? Recently, J.D. Vance, Vice President of the U.S., went to Europe, and he's like, hey, guys, we don't think it's good that you're censoring people. We believe in free political speech, so maybe don't do that.
Seriously.
And then we had an American commentator on a Sunday morning show talking to Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, and she was telling him, it was free speech in Germany that led to the Holocaust. And I'm like, are you retarded? That's not what happened at all. And that's just, they started with this idea of we are correct. We must control the narrative or millions of people will be genocided. And I'm like, you should be taken off the air. You are a dangerous person. I get to silence you because I think letting you speak is going to destroy the world. Wow. That's number one, talk about an ego, but just the idea that someone would promulgate that idea, that maybe there's people listening out there who go, oh yeah, if we want to avoid another Holocaust, we have to take away people's free speech. Like, that's the worst possible thing you could do. Of course, I believe that's the worst possible thing you could do. Maybe you agree. She doesn't. She's the kind of person who's like, yes, I should decide what you are allowed to say.
That is some leap to make.
That's almost like grandiose manic, delusions that she needs to be in a hospital.
That
wow.
is cognitive dissonance that should be studied, that should be examined into the most minute detail. Is freedom of speech wow.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things going wrong in Europe right now is, the EU and England and whatnot, is there's people who are like, hey, we have problems in our society and we want to talk about them. And the government says, we think talking about them is a bad thing. So we're going to kind of tell you not to do that and maybe put you in prison. You're going to get a talking to by the police. And I'm like,
that is definitely happening. Unfortunately, it's not, I live in Europe. I live under the rule of the EU.
You got to watch what you say. I'm sorry. I'll try not to say anything and get you in trouble. I'm an American. Fuck you. I do what I want.
America,
although my government will come after me too.
America in a nutshell. Fuck you. I do what I want. Yeah.
Do what I want. What I want. Speaking of that though, and I'm cutting you off again, but I want us to. Okay, what Trump is doing. This got political. I don't know how I follow all this stuff, and
it's fine. Talking about cults. That's pretty much a fucking cult.
No, for sure. Yeah. America, the cult. We are a cult of freedom and guns, baby.
It's your new novel, America, the cult.
Yes, there you go. But the idea of. I think America has become hated around the world because we let our administrative state bloat, and that bloat turned into things like USAID, where we're sending money to open up programs in other people's countries and try and influence their politics and change the way. Now, there's Americans who are like, look, if we don't use our soft power, who are we giving the world over to? Are we giving it to China? Are we giving it to Russia? Whatever. But yeah, I see you shaking your head. It's like, I'm of the opinion we shouldn't be fucking around in foreign countries like this. I'm America. I'm American. I do what I want in America. I should not be doing what I want in your country.
Yeah.
That's none of my damn business. Even if, hey, I offer you friendship, you want to be better friends with China. Maybe you believe more of what they believe. You think it's a better deal for you. I shouldn't then go in there and say, well, I guess you're not in power anymore because I'm the U.S. and I do what I want. And now, hey, look at this friendly guy. We're going to put him in power. I don't think we should be doing that. I don't feel good about it. I don't like it. I don't want it.
That's so, what
yeah, my fuck you attitude is very much limited to my own borders. I don't think we should be exporting freedom around the world at the, under bombardment. That's just, I think that's what I can't believe we spent the last, 20 some odd years invading and occupying Middle Eastern countries. I wish none of that ever happened. That's all wrong. I don't agree with it. I don't like it. And then you get into more sticky wickets like what do you do with Ukraine and Israel? I don't know. I try to stay out of that one too, just because I wish they both kill each other and we don't have to worry about it anymore. You can't say that. But can I wonder if that's what I should wish?
We can do like a whole separate show just on those.
Well, I wish they would get along.
Issues.
I wish nobody died and everybody got along. That's not the case. I wish it was the case. I don't know what to do with that.
It's a beautiful wish, and I'm sure you'll win Miss America with that one.
There's an interesting idea. Now, okay, Trump. Speaking of Trump, he's talked about wanting to buy Greenland, and
Yeah.
no one knows if he's serious, and that's part of his madman strategies. Is he serious about that? Is he gonna? What is he doing?
I mean,
We don't know. So he's like,
he's-
and he leaves it
He's
vague because
crazy
he's like,
enough to try.
he's a bit of a crazy man. Well, then it comes to the idea of, well, we're just gonna, we're gonna own Gaza. We'll just take it because we're American and we paid for the war anyway. Send them millions of dollars. I like that as a madman strategy in some
Sure.
ways of like, look, if you guys don't figure it out, we're fucking taking the toy away.
I mean,
you can't
that's
have it
that's
anymore.
some Marvel Doctor Evil shit,
Yeah, maybe so. But it's also like it's a threat hanging over their heads of like, well, we better figure this out or he might be serious. The other side of the coin is, what if he was serious and we did turn Gaza, say, into the Riviera of the Middle East, and it was full of luxury hotels, beautiful, peaceful city life and apartments, no more terrorism and whatnot. And then the people that they let back in are vetted to not be Hamas. Then all the Palestinians get to come back and live in a paradise, and they don't have to have the terrorists come back with them. Now, do I advocate that? Not necessarily. I don't have all the pieces worked out, but that thought came to my mind of like, what if that was the outcome? Would that
Oh.
be actually a pretty good thing? I don't know. But I want to throw it out there just on the internet of like, it may not be such a bad idea if he's serious.
That's fucked up because that's actually pretty good. Like if that's
As an outcome, it's not bad. That's what I'm saying. I don't like the process, but then as an outcome of like millions of civilians get to come back in and live in peace, not ruled by Hamas, not living in a war zone, and everyone's just chill. And we can put this whole, 70, 80 years of people trying to destroy Israel, put that to bed. No more. We don't do that anymore.
We'll just make
Anyway.
it another like tourist attraction in the Middle East. I mean, it has the
In a way,
ideal
and then all the
location
people
for
can
it.
live right there and, have a beautiful
I've been to Jordan.
landscape.
I've been to Egypt. They are, they are beautiful countries. It is a beautiful, beautiful culture.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can, like make it a little more touristy, there's more money in that as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think one of the big thing is just, you can't have a neighbor who's trying to kill you all the time. And, either one, on either side. So we've got to put that
So,
to bed. We've
but
got to stop
then
that
what-
conflict so that no more people die.
but then
No.
what is America if not, the big brother who's trying to kill you all the time?
Yeah, no, it's true. Oh, we don't really like what you did there, so we're going to bomb your country. We got to stop doing that. That's not good. That's not good. We've got no leg to stand on when it comes to that. Well, then you get people too who are like, when you try to say, hey, some of the things America did might have led to the conflict in Ukraine, and they're like, why do you hate America? And I'm like, don't hate America. I'm not a fan of my government. I think they've made mistakes. I think we pushed some things that got us into trouble. We provoked a response.
Yeah.
There are people who, they'll say you just hate America and they can't America bad. Like,
I
no,
mean,
I
as-
live here, man. I love it. It's not America bad. It's America.
As-
Quit fucking around. Stop it. Stop it.
As
That's
a
my opinion.
European, I can honestly say that all the bullshit going on in America, it's good entertainment.
But that is, yeah.
we're
Well,
watching.
Hopefully he's wrecking the piece of our government that fucks with other people, and then we all get along a lot better. That's what I'm hoping for.
We can hope, but we're
crossing
over
my
here
fingers.
watching in the Netherlands, watching from the other side of the ocean, like, oh my God, what the fuck is he doing?
And meanwhile, we're still
Let's
watching.
watch.
We're watching things like the UK, where Tommy Robinson is in solitary confinement because he doesn't like the idea that certain immigrants are incompatible with English life. If we put it politely,
Sure, let's
Yeah,
put it
that's-
very politely. It's
very politely for the EU censors.
I have
That's the other thing too.
I
Actually,
have
that I
a
was
tendency
thinking of
to
is
be
like,
way too brash.
so if America is going to use our soft power and influence, I would like to see it put pressure on the EU and Britain to be more open to adopting a First Amendment approach to political discussion openly in public.
But we have
Um,
that in like most, at least Western European countries. I can't speak for for the rest, but
Yeah.
we have freedom of speech. It's not just an American thing, and that's also so funny with America and all of the things, all of the rules and the Constitution. It's like, oh, but we have a Constitution
We
that
think
says
we think we're
we
so
have
special.
freedom of speech, and it's like, yeah, we do too, but we don't have a constitution. It's just it's in the
Yeah.
law. It's literally the ground rules of our country that say you have freedom of speech.
Nice. And maybe some are better than others. I granted, I guess I look at the breadth scope of American free speech, and I think there's less than the American total in Europe. And maybe Europeans go, you guys go too far. You shouldn't be that free. And I look at it the other way. I think Europe should be more free. I think they should have,
Well,
I think we should have more rights to free speech, and Europe should have that much more as well.
But America isn't free. That's
in a lot of ways.
That's the thing. If you look at it realistically, you're not free. The Constitution says this and Constitution says that. Yeah, great. Is it enforced?
Yep. No, that's a big problem. Well, we've got the Second Amendment says shall not be infringed in any way. Little infringe, big infringe, shall not be infringed. We got tons of gun laws. Everywhere you go, there's gun laws. Guns you can't buy. Guns you can't take some certain places. Guns you can't hide. Guns you have to, you're only allowed to purchase if you have a permit from imagine you have to purchase a permit from the government for free speech. That's what they're doing with a gun. And it's a very simple, shall not be infringed. Government, you can't touch this. You cannot pass a law. They've passed hundreds of laws, and I think they're all unconstitutional. I will still go to prison if I don't follow them. So I can believe whatever I want, and I can say it, but I can't violate it. Another thing too, I mean, just in terms of the extremity of speech, there are limitations on, say, free speech in America, where it's you can't threaten to kill someone directly in a imminent and believable fashion. You can't necessarily call for the extermination of an entire race. Now, I don't think these things are good, but I think they should be legal. I think those should not even be exceptions because of the principle, because the principle is so important. I think you should, because words, air coming out of your mouth cannot physically harm someone. I think that should be the limit. The limit is physical harm itself, not the threat of harm, although it's complicated, but I would expand free speech in America even further than it is. I would repeal some of the limits they've put on it, but I'm pretty extreme out there. So when I look at Europe, I'm like, good God, those poor bastards, based on my standard of what I would want.
Yeah, no, which is funny because, we can do a whole lot more than America, but it's so funny. America always falls back on the gun laws. Oh, we can have guns. Yeah, we
I'm kind of proud of that.
We can do too. I can own a gun if I want to. I just need a really, really, really good reason why. And I don't have a reason why. So how do you but then how do you defend yourself? Well, I don't have to. That's the thing. Yeah. I don't have to defend myself.
Well, there's another question there too. I was reading a statistic the other day that since certain migration patterns started to develop, certain rather heinous crimes against people have skyrocketed by 300-something%. And it's not the natives that are doing that. I mean, they've tracked it. So it's in societies where they are more homogenous, you get better results. You get higher trust. You get more people you look at your neighbor and you're like, that person is just an extended member of my family, in a way that it's not the more cultural and regional and ethnic differences pile up. You start getting people that are very different, who live by different moral codes sometimes, and then those codes come into conflict.
That is very basic human behavior. It's hey, you look like me. Therefore, I'm gonna assume that I can trust you. Because, we're...
And for the most part, you can, because they're thinking the same way. They were raised the same way.
If someone has a different color, speaks a different language that is not even remotely similar to yours, believes in a different God, it's at
a certain point, I don't know you, I don't know your God, I don't know your language. Yeah.
I'm gonna, keep you at a distance, not because I don't trust you, but because I don't know if I can trust you, because I don't know you, because, you're not one of my people, which is a very natural thing. You see that in nature, in the animal kingdom, all the time. It's freaking
even
George of the
animals
Jungle.
with no language
stripe
have
with stripe,
territories,
spot
and they
with
defend
spot.
it. Yeah,
it's pretty basic.
Yeah.
But-
And then, the straw man of that is, well, you're just xenophobic. You're just afraid of things that are different. No, 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 no. It's that when you have too many differences, there will be conflict. And we're trying to minimize conflict because we want to get along with our neighbors to the degree that we can. And the more similar to you your neighbors are, the more easily everything flows.
Exactly. And I
Just
have a
things like common courtesy, saying thank you. I mean, some cultures don't have that as a thing. Or when they say things like thank you, it's more like, it was a translation where the word literally meant, I think it's a Spanish or some, where they're the way they, or some South American country, the way they say thank you or is obligado in a way. It's like, oh, it's my obligation. So
yeah,
they're not
that's
really saying I appreciate
Brazil,
you.
I believe.
Yeah, something like that.
Brazilian
They're not really saying
Portuguese. Obrigado.
thank you. I benefited from you. I have special feelings towards you. The person is saying, don't worry about it. It was in a way de nada. It's
Yeah.
nothing. But really, what they're saying is, oh, I'm just fulfilling my obligation, which to me doesn't have the same cultural meaning as I personally appreciate. What you've done or anyway. So yeah, just even if something as simple as a language difference can be a huge difference in culture. And then you get in America, and we've always, we were like 98% white for like forever until the 1960s. And then we brought in a lot of people, and then they said the Irish weren't white and all that good kind of stuff. But yeah, they even did. They were even like, no blacks, no dogs, and no Irish was a sign in front of some businesses way back in the
If
day.
anything, the Irish are like when it comes
Like the
to
whitest people you know.
when it comes to skin
Pasty.
tone, they're the whitest,
Yeah.
pastiest out there.
Right. Yeah. And actually, we're going to need to embark on a preservation campaign to keep the redheads from disappearing. I mean, that's a human tragedy if redheaded women disappeared from the
Working
earth.
on it.
Right.
Working on it.
There you go.
My daughter's a redhead. My ex is a redhead. My wife is a redhead.
There you go. You're doing the work.
We'll be good.
I'm not. I have no kids, so it's but
I'm
also
doing
blonde
my
hair, blue
part.
eyes. That's a I guess recessive trait in a way of like, So you look at things like, well, what do you think it's bad for to race mix? And I'm like, no, not necessarily. But I think it should be the exception to the rule unless you're okay with certain people no longer existing, which maybe some are. And, throughout human history, maybe there's been a lot of cultures and civilizations and phenotypes or whatever they say that have faded away or blended it to the point where what they were, they no longer are. It happens. But I think we can choose whether or not to let redheads go extinct, and I argue against it. So that's my
yeah, me too.
me too. That's my thing.
No,
exactly,
but
right?
It's race mixing, another very sensitive topic.
It's not controversial at all.
Which has happened, so many times in history. The Neanderthals, the Denisovans, the Homo sapiens. There's a reason.
And if you fall in love with someone who looks different than you, I don't care. I'm not angry at you. I'm not telling you you're not supposed to get married.
There's a reason why certain groups of people, still look more like Neanderthals. They have the big forehead, kind of, flat skull, big flat head.
There was this one like Russian dude who was an ambassador or something to the EU or something like that. Dude was massive. He looked like freaking, Drago from Rocky IV or whatever.
Yeah, no,
like,
I mean it's
but like Cro-Magnon style, like you could pound nails with his forehead. Jesus, this guy.
Well, and
huge.
He probably still has a good amount of Neanderthal DNA. Those are like, picture a caveman. That's about what a Neanderthal looks like. So if somebody like that indeed is walking around, you're just like, holy shit, that's not one to mess with. That he probably has a large or larger amount of Neanderthal DNA. But that's literal ages ago. That's millennia ago. But the thing is, with a lot of those, I've seen those stories. I've seen the like interviews with those kind of people. A lot of them whose parents are of two different races, really. I mean, humans have races. Sorry.
It's like types of birds. We got peacocks and
we're
little
both
tiny songbirds and
exactly. We're both human, but we're still different. But because they're like half and half, they don't feel. Let's take the most basic example, like African and European. They don't feel European because they just don't
European.
look European enough to be European. But they also don't feel African because, they don't look African enough to fit in with the
And
Africans.
probably, and if they, especially if they weren't raised in that culture, like they'll go there and people will be like, well, you're a foreigner. We don't, you didn't grow up here. You're not one of us. It's like,
a lot
okay, now
of,
what?
unfortunately, a lot of times both sides will say that, the European side will say like, no, sorry, you're not European. I mean, like, here's a mirror, look at me, look at you. You're not European. Then they go to the African side and it's like, well, can I then like be with you guys? Like, I'm, half African. My mother, my father, whoever is African. It's like, no, you're not African. So a lot of them feel like kind of stuck in the middle, which is
for sure,
which is sad, really. Actually.
That brings me back to my point of America. And then, in the 1960s, we started opening it up. We became more Hispanic and more, African migration and China and India and all this kind of stuff. So America's a little different when it comes to, I want Ireland to stay Ireland. I want Germany or Netherlands to stay the way they are. I want the people who live there, the ancestors of that land, to be the same people in perpetuity. Ideally, that's my wish for you. And I know, and America's different in that regard of like, we were not a nation of immigrants. That's the wrong way to put it. We have become more a nation of immigrants in the last 60 years. That's true.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, we were settlers and conquerors. We fought natives to establish, and we settled land that nobody was living on. I mean, it's not like Indians lived everywhere and we kicked them out over here. They lived over there, and we kind of filled in the gaps in between where we had conflicts. And, and we can argue, was it resolved the best possible way? Maybe not.
That's tribal. That's tribal living.
But it was the way of the world too. It's not like we were doing anything anybody else wasn't doing. You
true
settle and conquer, and you do your thing, and everyone's done it for it. And then we decided not to do it
with
anymore.
Our own people. So
that's the funny thing. Like, that's another thing. I mean, this is a complete tangent too, but a lot of people don't understand that when America was founded, it was following years, centuries of religious conflict where different religious sects in Europe, it was constant wars, and they were almost all of them over religion. They were not all of them, but like a significant majority of
the largest
wars.
Ones.
From like, what was it, like from 11 or 1200 up until the 1700s. They were fighting a lot of wars over religion. It's just the Catholics and the Protestants and different sects and stuff like that.
Crusades and
Crusades. That was a whole other thing.
No, but
actually, that's when Europe started fighting itself more. Was after the Muslim conquest, and then the Crusades to kind of drive them out, and then the next crusade to go in and go through. Well, let's take Jerusalem now. Let's that kind of a thing too. Okay, so all of this to get around to saying that America. But what America's got to do is, if we are going to be a melting pot, we actually have to turn up the heat and melt the immigrants into the pot. They have to assimilate. And we've spent the last 30, 40 some odd years with the American left, as they put it, saying, no, you don't have to learn the language. You don't have to adopt our customs. You don't have to change anything about yourself. You can just bring you and everything you are and just move it physically to this plot of land in a different country. And like, that is partly what's ruined our higher trust society. Is it's not just that people might look different. It's that really we're not having as much cultural assimilation as we should to make it a successful project. So you get people who say we shouldn't have any immigration at all because it's all fucked up. And then people who say we should have unlimited immigration and nobody assimilates. I'm like, okay, I'm more on the other side of I would do, and I've advocated this before, about a 30-year, a little more than a full generation moratorium on any immigration, just to give us a chance to settle some shit. Just one full generation for the people here to assimilate, for us to have our culture war about establishing a national identity. And then we can have that conversation. Okay, we're going to open up our borders again and let people in. Who do we want to let in and why and how? I think we need time. I think it's been, there's people who we're talking about that idea of xenophobia, and it's like it's two different. Again, looking at the yin yang, and I've posted this before. It's a yin yang, and on one side is progress, and the other side is tradition. And I think you need both, and you need them to work together. And you can't have a society that eliminates 100% of all tradition, because that's stupid. Obviously, you can't have zero progress because we're not perfect. Something could always be a little bit better. So you need both. You absolutely need both. And the people on the progress side, we might say the progress zealots, the true believers, that is their cult. The cult of progress. Change is always good no matter what. I think they're nuts. They look at the tradition folks, even the ones who say, hey, maybe we should keep most of the traditions because they seem pretty functional. They look at those people and they say, well, you're xenophobic. You're afraid of change. You're afraid of things that are different than you. And I feel so frustrated by that idea because that's number one, that's not me. But number two, they're not taking seriously the question that you can have too much change too fast and you don't have the ability to adapt. And that's what we've been in, what Europe's going through right now as well, is even if you want to start letting in more of these folks, you got to do it slowly. You got to make sure they're brought up to speed and explain cultural expectations. They've got to learn the language and become part of that culture, not just be an African person living in France. They're not French. But
then the funny thing is, if it were the other way around, for example, it is expected that we assimilate. And if we don't, it's like, well, then good luck to you. Because either
if we go to a foreign country, they're not going to learn English for my sake. They're just not going to do it. They're going to be like, tough shit. Good luck to you.
Exactly.
And I kind of feel like that's the attitude we should have as well. It's like, good luck then, I guess. Don't learn English.
I mean,
all the forms are in English. Street signs are in English. Your driver's license test is in English. You're going to kind of have to adapt.
Exactly. I mean, like here in the Netherlands, because we've always been a country of trade. We have England just on the the other side of the pond. We have Germany next to us. We have France pretty nearby. It's what is it like? Well, from where I live, it's maybe let's say 3.5, 4 hour drive, and I am south, and I am well into France. That's pretty damn short.
It's true.
And
it's true.
It's
about a 3 or 4 hour drive. I'm in California, but then it's about an 8 or 10 hour drive to get to Mexico. It's huge.
8 to 10 hours.
How far would that take you? Yeah. Could you get to Italy in 8 to 10 hours? Like if you were driving?
Well into,
Okay.
And that's funny. That's the thing. With my parents, I've been lucky enough to explore a lot of the world already, a lot of Europe already. A lot of times also because it was with 3 kids. Myself, my brother, my sister. We always had the minivan, like the 7-8 seater, so perfect for the kids and birthday parties, and you could stuff all the freaking baggage in there. So if it was like Italy or France or Germany, my parents would drive that, and that is like a good 8 to 10 hours. I mean, if it all goes well, like not too much traffic, and whenever we just go south, we are 8 to 10 hours. I'd say we're like pretty much in Spain by that time, and well on our way into Italy. Yeah,
I'm kind of in some ways jealous of that too. It's like, hey kids, you want to go see the Coliseum this weekend? And then boom, you just pop in the car and drive. Me, I'm like, I got a plane ticket to get to New York first. Well, probably Colorado, and then New York, and then wait, and then get on a plane, and then land in Italy, and then I got to find a driver, and it's like,
I mean, I'm
probably never going.
I can go to the airport, take an international train, and with 2.5 hours, I'm in Paris.
Speaking of which, I hadn't looked at a map in a while, and I'm like, wow, France and Spain especially are huge. I didn't realize how big they were. And Germany, too. Germany's much bigger than I thought it was. And then you get into all the smaller countries around it and whatnot. But it's interesting how the Balkans broke up, say, after World War II, and certainly the fall of the Soviet Empire.
And they keep breaking.
And they're like, we are people of a certain kind who live a certain way with a certain culture, and these are all my relatives. We just want to be a country. And so they were sharing a country with like 3 other groups of people, and they said, let's just all be our own countries. And then they did. And it was, I think, It was fine. I don't know. I need to study up on that. There's probably still a lot of fighting there too. But
there's been trouble in the East.
there's been trouble. Yeah, no one wants to say like a genocide in Serbia didn't take place. That happened. So yeah, yeah.
No,
and,
yeah, like the Balkans, but it's funny, like, you know, in Europe or like Western Southern Europe, we see that as like just a part of Europe. Like you have Scandinavia in the north, then you have, well, the Benelux, that is Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg. Then you have France, Spain, you know, those are all their own. And then you have the Balkans, which is, you know, all those countries, like pretty much next to Germany, Poland,
you ask them where
Russia,
the border is,
you
and
know,
there
it's
it's somewhere over there.
yeah, like
They're not even
I
really
mean,
sure.
I
Half
would
of them.
probably have, you know, I would probably have trouble pointing out those countries because
Well,
it's,
even them, you ask the people who live there, and they're kind of fuzzy on the border because they're like, it's never been important. We live here, they live there. The border's somewhere in between. We don't even care. It's a little fuzzy on their own borders sometimes.
yeah, no, but I mean that's also, it's like, come to think of it, that's actually a perfect example of tribalism. You know, it's like,
Yeah,
these are
yeah.
our people. We'd like to live with those people. Those are not our people, but they live there, so they can, you know, live there. That's fine as long as we live with our people. You know, we
Yeah, I want to see more of that. I want to see more of it. Like we're not bothering you. Leave us alone. We're gonna do our own thing. We're not
Yeah.
hurting anybody. And if people want to be tribal that way, I've called for that. And in America, of course, we've got from the history of the settling the country, we created Indian reservations where it's like, okay, you get your own tribal land, and they're actually considered a foreign nation within the boundaries of the United States. They have their own. We actually have treaties with them that it's like you do your thing, and that's why they have their own tribal police, and we have to get permission to send people in for law enforcement to go, you know, hunt for people who committed crimes off reservation land. And I was thinking, what if we did that for racial groups in America that want to live separately? We create a reservation for this is black country, this is white country, it's Chinese country. You can live that way if you want to. But if most of us are not going to, I'm not moving to a reservation just to live around with white people.
Kind of the idea. It's unfortunately not going as well as we would hope. But the growth of Odin that you know that we have started, it's like, you know, but for the European pagan people, we've put it under the Odinism banner because, you know, that's something that is recognized. You know, Odinism. Oh yeah, like now we know what you mean. I mean, there's a lot more to it than just Odinism, but you know, for government purposes, that's easier because, you know, it's the freaking, it's the freaking government. They need to know, like, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? Where are you doing it? How are you doing it? It's like,
fill out these forms and then wait 6 to 8 weeks. Well, that kind of reminds me of that's even happened in America as far as like we were talking about the Mormons. They're like, Jesus, Mormons are crazy. The Mormons are like, well, screw you guys. We're going to live in Salt Lake City. Let's go do our own thing. And they still run Utah, basically. It's still
they run so much more.
Fair enough, yeah.
You should listen to Unfiltered Rise with Heidi Love. She is a former Mormon who is now spilling all their secrets. I had her on semi-recently to talk about cabbage babies and orphan trains. But yeah, Unfiltered Rise podcast. Shout out Heidi. She does like a lot of ex-Mormon stuff, and they have their fingers in everything.
Yeah, I can see that too. That's another thing with like there's nested Russian nesting doll scaling issues of like, you know, so the Mormons are using their soft power to secure their own interest in their homeland, so to speak. But they got their fingers in a lot of pies. And then you've got America doing that on the global stage. And that made me think of the idea of one of the global culture war is between, I guess you could say broadly, nationalism and globalism in a way, where the globalists, and I think they've done a lot of bad things in the name of their religion, so to speak, in the name of their ideal vision of the world.
Sure.
And they're working to make it happen. I mean, but setting aside that
every group has.
Every group does. Yeah, setting aside the emotional content of how do I feel about what they're doing.
Sure.
You know, their vision is that they want the end of national borders. They want the end of separate peoples, and that's what they're working towards. They think that is the vision, that is their vision of the ideal progress of humanity towards something better. I just happen to disagree. I think we lose the real beautiful diversity that we have if we homogenize too much. There's a phrase, and I don't know if I've used it with you or other people, but the idea is it's been shortened to globo homo.
Yeah.
And some people think that means a global push to make everybody homosexual. I'm like, no, it's global homogenization.
Yeah.
Everyone becomes one people, one united people of Earth. And as much as it has its own beautiful dream quality to it, I get why they think it's a good idea. And it's not like there wouldn't be certain problems that would disappear if we did that. Let's say we interbred every human on the planet until we all look the same. Same hair color, eye color, skin color. We were all exactly the same. And I think that's a bad thing because we lose diversity and individual cultures and a lot of things that just make it nice to go from one place to another because it's different. When there is that much similarity, that is one way to accomplish or to reestablish, say, a high trust society is by taking a bunch of different people and making them the same, ultimately by force, by forcing people to migrate and the countries to accept them. I see what they're doing, and I see why.
If
I just
everyone
disagree.
is uprooted, it's easier to to plant new ideas. Oh, this is no longer your homeland. It's now everybody's homeland. Yeah, but like my
I have a big problem
family
with that.
has lived here for generations,
Yeah,
I mean,
and then to have someone
that's-
just pop in from another country and now they're your neighbor and you're like, hi, I'm the same as you. You're like, on paper. Maybe,
Yeah,
but not really.
I've had this discussion briefly with Tom Rousel from Survive the Jive. Man, I'm name dropping everyone.
Name dropping. Yeah, it's good.
No, but it's it's like just because, and I compared it to the people from the Antilles, Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao, people from the Suriname, they just because they have a Dutch passport, a Dutch bank account, and they live here, so they have a Dutch home address, which is like the three main things you need to have for like a Dutch identity or like on paper, a Dutch identity.
Yeah.
It doesn't make them Dutch.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, yeah,
and then there's and then the people on the other side say that's no racist, xenophobic. Like, nah, it's just.
But the funny thing
way
is,
it is.
they don't even consider themselves Dutch. Like, if you ask them, like, yo, where are you from? Yeah, I'm from the Suriname. But I thought you were Dutch. Yeah, I am.
When you get that in America too,
then how are you from Suriname, but you are Dutch? Well, because I live here.
We get the enclaves like what was it? Ilan Omar is one of our representatives elected to federal Congress, and she's from Somalia, and she lives in a kind of little Somalia in a Minnesota somewhere that was full of a bunch of imported Somalis. And when they talk to each other, and you've got recordings of her giving speeches, she says, I'm here to represent my people. And by that, she means her Somali community, not Americans. I mean, she doesn't even consider herself or her people who just happen to occupy space in this country as Americans. That's not part of her thinking either. And I don't know. I don't know what to do about these things. We've covered a lot of ground.
Your idea is great. Like, that is happening
reservations.
already,
Yeah.
Let's establish.
It is. People form their own enclaves. Let's just make it a separate country or something. And then there's people in America who will say, don't give away our land like that. Like, oh, okay, fair enough.
No, just, give it away to foreign powers, give it away to Bill Gates. Like, why don't you? That's much better.
They don't complain about their billionaires. They just don't like ours, right? It's not wrong when we do it.
No, exactly. No, but that's, and I mean, yeah, like we can live as a worldwide collective by respecting each other. Like, we don't all have to look alike. I mean, by God, please, no. If we all look alike,
I don't want to lose that. I think that's boring. That's like,
exactly.
That's like pouring all the colors of the rainbow into one bucket. No.
But I mean, I could, like, since we're like fucking dropping names and quotes and all of that, Syndrome from The Incredibles, Pixar The Incredibles. If everyone's special, nobody's special.
I had that same thought. So attached to that idea, now we heard that 10 years ago or more. Now there's this new thing, they call it the heat map, where they said, how far does your caring about things beyond yourself extend? And one heat map of conservatives is very local, family-oriented, small group
Good.
primary concern.
As it should be.
And the heat map for the more liberal left, progressive type is, well, I care about everything up to and including space dust. And so, I mean, I think literally that's what it says, rocks and trees and whatnot. And they look at it as we are morally superior because we care more broadly about more things. The breadth of our caring is better. And my perspective is the syndrome quote. If you care about everything, you care about nothing. You can't care about a rock and a tree the same amount as you care about your family. That's not good, in my opinion. So I am very much the localized heat map to my immediate surroundings, my wife, my neighbors, my community, my state, my nation, then the rest of the world in that order. And then after, all the people of the world are rocks and trees. We only need rocks and trees so much as I love the biodiversity of nature, but we take care of the environment so we can keep living in it, is what it is. And we want it beautiful so we can enjoy it.
If we take care of ourselves, then we are able to keep living in this environment, live in harmony with the environment. Because, if we don't do those heinous acts, then I get
exactly.
it.
And as much as I don't think anyone should be wantonly destructive, I also don't inherently care about a given patch of desert and a scrub bush and a snake and a scorpion living there. I mean, I don't have care for that, even though you could say I would like nothing bad to happen to them or for no good reason. That's definitely where I'm at. But anyway, so that's that syndrome quote. If you care about everything, you care about nothing, because you have to rank order some things.
Exactly.
And if your family and friends are not more important to you, there's a problem, in my opinion. So
that's very I mean, that's very traditional thinking. It's very pagan.
I got a pretty heavy conservative side, which is funny because I consider myself someone with one foot planted on both sides of the progress tradition gap. Now, there's a lot of people who are naturally more conservative, naturally more progressive. Fair enough. We need them both. I don't think, now the extremes are rigidity and chaos, and it's like neither one of those is good either. We need loyal opposition that works to figure out the necessary balance, that thin line between are we throwing the baby out with the bathwater as far as tradition goes, or are we refusing to embrace a positive change because we don't want to, we don't like it, we don't realize it's necessary. A lot of so I'd say in the last, I have a healthy conservative streak, but I'd say in the last 10, 15, whatever years, I have been more of a vocal advocate for conservative perspectives because in America specifically, I think the left has had too much power control and has gone off the rails. So I'm not defending that as much as I like in the 90s or early 2000s even. I was a little more on the left side of some arguments because to me they're like if you take the example from the 90s, we had Al Gore and his wife Tipper, and Tipper Gore was the one who got record companies to put explicit warning labels, not for kids, on CDs and albums. And that was because they were, and this was Democrats in America, the left, holding committees on the moral implications of exposing children to gangster rap lyrics and different sexual and violence, which is something worth considering,
I can agree with that.
Now the modern left is, so I was on the left on that argument. I was to the left of Al Gore and his wife, the Democrats in power, or at least part of the Bill Clinton Democrat White House. I was to the left of them saying, I don't think you should be controlling what we're allowed to buy. And then they struck the compromise. Well, we'll put a parental advisory sticker on it. And that was I'm like, okay, you warn parents are in control. You've accomplished the mission. It's not a bad thing to give people more information. But so I was very anti-censor. Well, now the left in America has become pro-censorship. We can't let people have free speech because the Holocaust will happen again. I'm like, okay, now I'm on the conservative side of things where we need a lot more free speech than that. No, that's not a good line to draw in the sand.
What was right, what was left, it's flipped. It
changes a lot. Now the Republican Party are people like, oh, you're gay, come on in, we don't care anymore. They used to be very much, that's a sin against nature and God. And we can't allow that. And now we don't care.
It's not just.
And as a libertarian, I never cared. Whatever.
It's not just the polls that are shifting. There's I mean, everything is just, what is up is down, what is left is right. Abnormal is normal, gay is straight. It's like everything is the opposite, yet somehow it is the same, and it should be celebrated, but at the same time, don't celebrate it too much. That's why. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I see. Even he thinks the same way, and he's a cat. Like, go figure.
He says, "Damn right."
Yeah, no, but
cats understand freedom. They value it highly.
yeah,
Don't touch me when I don't want to be touched. Feed me when I'm hungry. Let me outside sometimes.
yeah,
Does he go outside or no?
yeah. He does. He does.
Okay. I used to have cats that I let outside, and I've been doing that less and less just because I worry about them. I don't want them going over the fence and getting hit by a car.
I mean, Timmy is he's a tough guy and a big softie. So he can
he knows how to stay out of trouble. Well, he's still alive. He must. So,
or he's just very good at I mean, yeah, getting out of trouble or surviving.
Getting out of trouble again, yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
I don't know, but he has survived me for the past 5 years, so that's something.
Right?
No, so geez, it's again 2.5 hours. Man.
Again, 2.5 hours. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think I'm running out of brain juice and my ass is starting to get sore. I should probably get up and walk around. And
I still need to have dinner.
Yeah, right. Oh, that's right. You came home and got right into this. No, we can definitely do it again. I've got a video game stream to get ready for, and I got to check this. Right as I was jumping into the chat with you here, I had taken that Gunga Din song. I don't even know if I finished telling that story. Well, yeah, it's going to be an Americana kind of up tempo country.
Yeah,
because the way it's written, it's a guy who's speaking in the way he's punctuated it, you can tell it's a lower class British kind of Cockney accent. He says, he gave me half a pint. That kind of speaking tone. You can hear. So that's definitely going to be a heavy Southern American accent. Not pronouncing the G's on NM words, type of singing style. So I'm excited to go. What has Suno produced? It's been sitting there unlistened to this whole time.
Cool.
So I'm kind of excited to go check that out too.
Yeah, no, you go do that. It's
gonna be a great song. You won't hear it for a couple of months though.
I need to figure out what I'm having for dinner. I mean, it's a quarter to midnight. In the meantime,
might be pizza pocket time. Something in the microwave. I do that a lot.
I don't have anything to microwave.
Oh no,
I think I'll
you always gotta have reserved pizza pockets. Just a little Tostitos pizza rolls. I had some of those the other day. They were so good. Now I want them again.
I don't think
not
we
good for you,
really
but
have something like that. I mean, what we have, it's more Indonesian, I believe. I mean, that's like one good thing of, being multicultural. You are exposed to different types of food.
True.
That is not to say that they all should come here just because of the different types of food. I do
one or two to bring their food with them. That's fine. That's fine. I'm not going to kick them out.
The different spices, not just pepper and salt, but a lot of different spices as well. It's like, okay, keeps life.
That's one of the funniest. That's one of the funniest things about in America. There's a people of color thing that they say. Oh, white people don't know how to spice their food. I'm like, bitch, we fought wars for hundreds of years over spices. We invaded countries to get spices. Don't talk to me.
Yeah,
about that.
I mean, we've even made just whole sayings with them. Like worth your salt, or here in the Netherlands we have one peperduur, as expensive as pepper. Because apparently that was really expensive back in the day.
Once upon a time, like I said, we were fighting wars over pepper. We were like that. We need spicy food. Let's go kill those people. When they did,
I mean that's one of the main things that we brought over. Like the Dutch East India Company, we went to India, we went to the East. What did we bring back? I mean, a whole lot of freaking spices, and then everyone back home was like, "Oh shit, this is good, man."
Possibly another discussion for another time, because we keep trying to say goodbye. Both of us can't stop the talking. It was the Dutch that became the Afrikaans, right? They settled or was it?
No, that was the Dutch.
That was the Dutch, but that's not
hope. Gave a good hope.
Yeah. Was that that's your people?
Used to be. Now they're their own people.
Certainly now they're their own people. Yeah. But I just want to make sure I was getting the country of origin correct, because I couldn't.
Those were the Dutch in Afrikaans. If you really try, and they slow it down a little,
You can almost kind of make out what they're saying.
I can actually. I can.
Very
It
cool.
is because it
Well,
is.
that's like
it
some
is
people
still,
that speak
it is still
broken
so
English
similar
with
to
some
Dutch.
Spanish or German or whatever thrown in. I can kind of make it out
I
sometimes.
mean, it is. Well, it used to be Dutch because we
Been a separate people
left
for like
them
a
alone,
couple hundred years.
really,
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
they actually did well, unlike America and the Brits left them alone. They were like, okay, you got your
Mhm.
independence, and now look what you've done with the country.
Yeah, another thing about those people is like they didn't displace anyone. They went to empty land and built cities and then just kind of did their own thing. And then other people that were local came to live with them because they're like, oh look, they got a city. Let's go live there.
Yeah,
And then that's when the
looks a whole
apartheid
lot,
thing was.
It looks a whole lot nicer. The technology is a lot better. They don't look like they're starving. They don't have
I can
to
get a
hunt. They
job,
can grow their
yeah.
own shit. It makes life a whole lot easier and a whole lot better. Let's go live with them. And I can't.
Oh yeah,
I
I mean,
can't
it's my
blame them.
perspective. The Afrikaans did nothing wrong in anything, So, and actually, I think Trump just extended to the Boer out there refugee status. Like, hey, if
Oh,
you
good,
feel like your life is in danger and you want to get the hell out of there,
because it is.
come farm in the Midwest. Come to California, whatever.
No,
That's a whole story
but
for another day.
is.
It'd be
No,
a great
it's
subject to get into the history of it. So maybe
yeah.
maybe
Oh,
another time.
no. I mean, just Dutch history. Hell, like Dutch colonial history. Jesus. Okay.
Such a tiny country that went everywhere. I mean, relative to the size of other countries around you. I mean, you look at that thumbprint next to the
Yeah.
you
I mean,
Anyway.
the Dutch East India Company or
Very
the
successful, yeah.
Verenigde Oost-Indische Compagnie was
Mhm.
the first multinational, had its own private army, was basically more powerful than any kingdom
Let's
out
just think,
there.
damn it, they started this globalist shit.
Sorry.
Well, the English did it. We all did it.
On behalf of the Dutch, I'm so fucking
apologize.
sorry.
You owe Alex Jones an apology.
No, but it's so funny. It's like, oh, the King of Spain doesn't want us to do this. Here's a bag of money. Let's tell him to shut the fuck up.
King of Spain says,
Yeah, like
Okay.
don't go do this. Don't go sailing there.
I think more of what America needs to do is rather than this is just based on that, like with kings and queens, we still also have the ability as our federal government to give out letters of marque and reprisal. So instead of invading another country, I think we should just put bounties on the head of certain people that are like really bad dudes. I mean, and then,
Ooh.
hey, maybe the locals, maybe they pick up that letter of marque and reprisal. They take care of the bad dude and they get paid for it. I think that's how we could deal with the cartels in Mexico too. We don't have to go down there with our troops. We don't have to invade with our army. We don't have to drop bombs on them. We just put out a bounty on the head of the cartel and someone can come collect the payday.
Or
with
do
that
what El
market reprisal.
Salvador did. Take their example.
Bukele, yeah.
Like, holy shit, MS-13 in
He
El
cleaned that shit
Salvador,
up.
it's pretty much not a thing anymore.
Yeah. Now, being the question everything contrarian that I am sometimes, I'm like, I hope he didn't sweep up too many innocent people when he did that. Probably not. I mean, I think most of the folks he got were in the gangs and well known to be violent, and he dealt with those people. We have a little different thing in America.
Of like different interviews, and that's like also usually how the gangs work. Like, you don't get the tattoo, you don't get the representation if you're not in the gang.
Yeah, and if you just pick everybody up with the tattoo, you're pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to have killed for it. Like, that's the initiation. Like, you kill, you get the tattoo, which means you're in the gang. Or, well, I guess the other way around, really. It's like,
and anyone
you
that
kill,
thinks...
you're in the gang, you get the tattoo, which means you're one of us.
Yeah, and if you're an American or international citizen, so to speak, of another not American country, you want... Yeah, what am I trying to say? If you don't think Mexican cartels and other very dangerous groups need to be dealt with, you got to see some of the videos that are out there. I cannot recommend it, but if you search for a video called Funky Town, you will know why we need to deal with that. I have only seen a description of it. I have not watched the video because I won't do that to myself. But if you have any doubts about whether some very bad dudes that really need to be taken care of and cannot be allowed to just continue hurting people, watch some of those videos that are out there. I mean, of pretty horrible things. And they do it kind of for fun. What was one story I heard that the cartel would have a thing like where they'd throw a big party with a bunch of hookers and then they would just kill them all at the end of the night for fun, take them in the basement and do horrible things. I mean, these are not good people that I wouldn't mind if bad things happen to them.
If that's their idea.
That shouldn't happen to anybody. Yep. Anyway, I should go. I'll just start saying progressively crazier things.
That's how you know it's the end of the show.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, dude, thank you for coming on. We touched on everything.
Everything. I don't.
Everything.
The only thing we left out was the kitchen sink. So next time.
Yeah, I'll be using it to make dinner, of course. But
Well, that was. I mean, to kind of bring it around full circle, we started with the idea of what is a fake god, and in that way, you could look at it from a biblical lens. What is a false idol? What is giving your faith or belief to something that is not true and does not produce good results? And we kind of talked, and that opens the door to everything. What do you believe? How do you engage with the world?
yeah,
What are the good outcomes you want to see, and how do you achieve them?
yeah.
Kind of I think it all starts with questioning our faith. What do I believe and why?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then
There you
we
go.
also came to the conclusion that tribalism and having tribal land or tribal patches of lands, true enclaves.
In America might be good. Reservations. Save the redheads. That's my message.
We should
If you
start.
come away with this,
We should start
with
a
nothing
charity.
else.
Save the redheads.
For sure.
Do your part. No, but this has been a most fascinating chat for this is before editing, of course, so 2 hours 42 at the moment.
You just slap the whole thing up. Doesn't bother me. I'm fine with it. However you want to do it. It's all
No,
good.
I like just do basic editing. Like I don't cut a whole lot out. Just the what is it, like the filler words and
Sure.
the longer pauses to just make it a consistent whole. But I never cut out more than 5 minutes.
It's all
and
part of that
just
producer's craft we were talking about
Yeah.
earlier too. Yeah.
yeah, no, exactly.
Finding the right mix.
So yeah, I mean, dude, like plug your stuff real quick, and then
Oh yeah, I'm a guy. So at the bottom of the screen there, probably you'll see it says BenjaminTheDreamWizard.com. You can also find me, of course, at Benjamin the Dream Wizard on YouTube, and my music channel at Real AI Radio, where all those songs are. I got books about dreams. I do video game streams. I need to now that just rhymed. I got books about dreams and video game streams. Maybe I need to write a song or a poem. When I this is off both nothing. When I still goodbye. But one more thing, right? When every day I open up my my video game streams with a toast, and it's bringing a bunch of different ways of toasting from different languages. I don't know if you've seen at the beginning.
yeah.
It's let's see, it's Ein Prosit der Gemütlichkeit, Nostrovia, Kanpai, Salud, cheers to you, and here's mud in your eye. And it just brings all those together. So wherever you're at in the world, I'm saying cheers to you in your own, hopefully, there's too many languages, but okay, all of that to say that when I'm plugging my stuff, I should come up with a poem that says all the things in rhymes, and then I can memorize that, and it'll be a lot. Then I won't be rambling as much. So anyway, that's me. That's my stuff. I'm out there. You can find me. Don't follow me on Twitter. I say crazy shit.
Or do if you're into that.
Or do if you're into that. Yeah.
I mean,
I'll
that
probably
is
piss you off though.
yeah. I mean, that's one of the traits of a wizard. He says
Mm.
crazy shit sometimes. I know.
Never be quite so sure you know exactly what a wizard's up to. Even he doesn't know what he's up to half the time. That's for
That's
sure.
promising.
That's right. I trust my gut. I just go with it. I don't know why I'm doing this, but this is what I need to do. So, well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's always
Yeah,
always good
no,
to talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I still need to like plug my stuff. I have shit going on as well.
Oh yeah, do it.
So yeah, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for sticking with us on this like again, like rambly site tangent hopscotch kind of episode. But I mean that's just what happens when you have someone who is who is as awesome as Ben. Like, I mean, there's a reason why it's like 2 hours 45 at the moment. It's not because we don't have anything to talk about. I mean, we can go for like another 2 hour 45. It's
Probably.
just...
I'm not a hero. It's just what I do. Callbacks, the best.
Oh man, yeah. So I guess if you want to be my personal hero, God, I should like cue Enrique Iglesias' hero. Like at this point, it's such a bad song. Go. Jesus Christ, I'm trying to. Come on, man. Leave a like.
Is it greyhornpagans.com?
Yeah, that
There you
is
go.
that is of course the website greyhornpagans.com, where you can find everything that we do with the Tribe of the Greyhorn Pagans. Greyhorn Pagans podcast, Growth of Odin is where you can find the merchandise. It's where you can find the Patreon, patreon.com/greyhornpagans, where all the episodes, including this one, will of course air a week early, week and a day early, because I'm not like airing a new episode on Patreon and on YouTube on the same day. Don't worry, I'm not going to make you choose. No worries. At the time that this airs, I should be well on my way with the new series that I'm doing with the wifey, all about cryptids and Lanfeetier, all the amazing beings from around the world. Our first episode is going to be the kabouters, or the leprechaun, the kobolds, however you want to call them. So look for those videos. Other than that, a big thank you to the channel sponsor, Dubby. Dubby is it's an energy drink, but without the jitters, without the caffeine crash. I've been drinking it for a few days now that I'm like also working part-time again, just doing grocery deliveries until I can start doing security again. It really helps me through the day. It helps keep my energy levels up without the crash of like a Monster energy drink or a Red Bull. This is so much better. So if you go to dubby.gg and use code SteinFox10, you can get 10% off everything of your entire basket, whatever it is that you wish to choose. And of course, also a major thank you to Shop Reclaim Repurpose and their amazing Nefertafel set, or Viking chess, as Ben gets attacked by his cat.
He wants to play. He says,
of course.
It's time. This is happening.
Yeah, amazing Nefertafel set, Viking chess, a awesome 2-player strategy game, chess as our ancestors used to play it, all handmade, handcrafted. A lot of love and a lot of work goes into it. So go to shopreclaimrepurpose.etsy.com, show him some love, and use code what's the code again? I keep forgetting that one. It should be, oh yeah, that was it. Luckily I have it as a banner. SteinFox.
Almost done. 1 minute.
That is TAFL. The wife is calling. Oh dear, time to wrap it up.
Exactly.
Really quick.
Time to go.
So shopreclaimrepurpose.etsy.com, code SteinFox, Tuffle, TAFL, for 10% off your awesome Nefertafel sets. The owner and creator is a good friend of mine, good friend of the tribe, good friend of the channel. So go show him some love. And while you're showing everyone love, show Ben some love as well. Watch some of his dream stuff. What's the episode that we did?
Says bye-bye.
Bye, kitty.
He won't let you look at the camera.
Well, and I guess with all that said, the kitty says bye, Ben says bye, the wife is calling. So yeah, thank you all. Until next time, everyone. Bye-bye. This was yet another amazing episode of the Greyhorn Pagans podcast. We thank you all for watching. We thank you all for listening. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you will be notified whenever we upload something new. Support us on Patreon for early access and for everything else that we do with the tribe, for everything else that we do with the podcast. Find us on www.greyhornpagans.com. For now, we thank you.